Am I feeling
तिनक धिन धागे न 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 तिनक धिन.
Every day I wake I make my mind up. I'ma be the one, be the truth, be the way. Yeah. Every day I wake I make my mind up. Gotta keep my mind on the because they only telling their side of the story. Here telling lies like they on Morid and porridge. Kids get their money on phone it. But down here in the hood, yeah, we know Forex. We growing up, yeah, we got the goods. Build them assets, build them up fast. Get rid of cash before the whole market crash. A news flash, just a blast from the past. We on the smash now, be prepared to hit the gas, yeah.
Build a land, get the wealth, change your name up. Get the title in your hands, switch your game up. Melodation, elevation, arise. We divide, blood eye, yeah, we travel.
Drive.
Blood eye, yeah, we travel.
Woo. That's my child. Woo.
Blood eye, yeah, we travel. Hey, hey, hit him with the high, yeah. Stereo, I got from Virginia, yeah.
I know I'm more because I'm blessed. I know I'm more. I passed the test.
We got to see with the true eyes. We need some brand new bright ideas. We got the hearts and some great minds, yeah. If we could all just be sincere.
Build a land, get the wealth, change your name up. Get the title in your hands, switch your game up. Melodation, elevation, arise. We divide, blood eye, yeah, we travel.
Drive.
Blood eye, yeah, we travel.
Woo. That's my child. Woo.
Blood eye, yeah, we travel. Build a land, get the wealth, change your name up. Get the title in your hands, switch the game up. Melodation, elevation, arise. We divide, blood eye, yeah, we travel. Hey, hey, hit him with the high, yeah.
Peace to the party. It's your homeboy reporting live. Yeah, man. Hey, look, you see how I did like the real news? You got to pan in real quick. Yeah, been working, man. Been working. Peace to the party. Shout out to everybody in the chat right now that pulled up early. We appreciate our early bird supporters because we sure need it, man. So while you're here, go on hit the like button. While you're reaching over your chip, your popcorn, or we got the conscious crowd here too. So y'all boys may be on your smart water. You may have you got your whole everything going, right? Whatever it is that you own, do us a favor right now. Go and hit the like button. Tap in the chat and get active. We respond and talk to the chat the whole time. We ain't scared of no negative comments, and we definitely appreciate the positive ones. Either way it go, tap in, right? Shout out to everybody. Boy, y'all in here early. Shout out to the party, first and foremost. Shout out to the supporters of the party. And even if you ain't formally a part of the party, but you support us like you are, peace to you as well. Speaking of which, check out our Patreons. A lot of big things coming, a lot of special people that has been reaching out to offer things to us, using us as a proxy to reach the people. And y'all know that we are very serious about what we promote and what we vouch for, because it's all about, if it ain't about empowerment or some type of way that it can help y'all, we ain't gonna push it to you. You feel me? We don't do this for money, but we do need money to be able to push our mission. You feel me? But we ain't asking for no handouts. We'd rather sell you a product, but we appreciate every super chat, every way, new merch coming soon. A lot of work has been happening behind the scenes, y'all. So speaking of work behind the scenes, everybody in here, man, shout out to everybody. So speaking of work, right, I got to touch this. So I'm just sitting here minding my business, doing what I do, right? And I see the SPLC got indicted by the feds. They said these folks got caught funneling money to white supremacy groups. I said, no, I know there was some black folks in shambles when they seen this. Boy, they still over here trying to argue and debate with me about the simplest shit. So let's go and break it down real quick, man. So I'm gonna play this video. Shout out to PVD podcast. They did a good breakdown, but they had, the reason why I want to play this video specifically is they had the CIA whistleblower. He's giving a backstory to how these things even happened in the first place. So if you're not familiar, SPLC, matter of fact, what are my manners? For my people who don't know, let me break this part down first, right? Then we'll go play what they gotta say. Hold on. All right, let me take it over to screen 3. So Southern Poverty Law Center, all right? It's a 501c3. Now keep this in mind. So they're a legal advocacy group specialized in civil rights and public interest litigation. Now I'm gonna tell you straight up, anytime you hear something and an organization and they hold basis of civil rights, bro, and our Lord 2026, the year of 2026, something ain't right, bro. We are way past that stage in America. These folks this is a dying business model. The heyday has already been hit, right? But these folks still want to keep milking this, and I'm going to show you why. So watch this. So their whole job is, and this was started in 1971. Keep this in mind. This is very important. This is not a part of the original civil rights movement. They piggyback off this, okay? We'll get to that and why that matters soon. But let me play this video first.
SPLC. So Cash Patel and Todd Blanche dropped this, right? And SPLC, maybe at the beginning their reasoning was noble, and they've raised God knows how much money. We saw reports of who's giving them money. George Clooney gave them money. Tim Cook gave them $1 million. I think Chase gave them money. Soros was speculated to have given them money. And then you see the 2019 Charity Watch. It's a leftist organization, gave SPLC an F. Current Affairs gave SPLC an outright fraud that uses fear to cause leftists to write checks. Liberal death penalty abolitionist Stephen Bright, I think is his name, refused to take an award from SPLC, said the SPLC has been run by a con man and a fraud. And then former SPLC employees in 2019 told the New Yorker that we were part of the con and we knew it. Like they knew they were doing this. What do you know about it, and why is this such a big deal of what happened?
Well, when I first saw the push notification that the SPLC was being indicted on...
Oh, my bad. Buddy right here is a CIA whistleblower. Dude right here on the screen. So his take on this is very interesting, basically because he was part of researching people that was misusing government funds, just how to track the money, right?
Felonies, multiple felonies.
Yes.
My first thought was, oh, come on. We have nothing better to do. And then I clicked on it and I read the article and I said, oh, shit, these are real crimes. Real crimes. The kind of crimes where they're documentary. You either did it or you didn't do it. And if they've got documentary evidence that they did it, this could be the end of the SPLC.
Literally.
I think it could be.
Well, so I'm watching the opposition to see what their argument is. You know, the current president reacted. I don't know if you saw his clip or not. He said, yeah, you know what? You know how they're spinning it? Here's what they're saying. They're saying this is so unfair because this was our way of paying informants to learn more about the organization.
I knew they were going to say that.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
Like journalists who buy one share of stock so that they can go to the stock holders meeting and,
they're spinning it in a way to say, shame on them to do this. These are people that are doing great work.
So when I first posted about this, right, because y'all know everything before I bring it here, I got to test it with the common people. You hear me? See what they thoughts, and that's how I gauge my talking points, right? So I posted this, and this was the folks who was ready to come to their defense with Chat GPT answers, right? This is what they come with. Oh, they was just paying the informants, as if these folks, the FBI. Since when? Now, I want y'all to be clear what they alleging. They alleging that millions was sent from the SPLC through a whole money laundering ring to be able to go to individuals that was tied to these same hate groups that they say they were investigating and trying to take down. So their rebuttal was, oh, we paying our informants. Y'all a 501c3, bro. What type of informants y'all gonna have on the payroll that's getting paid millions of dollars? Like, what is we talking about here? And then guess what? When the feds is paying folks millions of dollars to inform, guess what they also doing? Locking niggas up. Where is the lawsuits against the KKK, the Aryan Nation, all these folks they supposed to be investigating? Where is the lawsuits? Because this is what they do is litigation against these people that you've been getting information from for over a decade and you've been paying out. So they can tell this to people who dumb, bro. But we over here, we critically think, right? We got an autonomous perspective, and ain't no way I'm paying you $3 million for some information. And from that information, I haven't locked anybody up. Like, come on, what is we talking about here? Nobody's that kind. And then y'all is a 501c3. How the hell is y'all saying y'all got the authority to pay informants, bro? Make it make sense.
That was the guy who responded, claiming that's what they're doing in the past. So what do you think about that?
I think that is weak because what they're being accused of doing is giving money to the Ku Klux Klan, giving money to Nazi groups, laundering money. There are very clear laws, very specific laws about money laundering. You can't do it. You can't do it. And so why launder it in the first place? Again, what the Justice Department is accusing them of doing is documented. And so they're going to have their day in court just like everybody else. And they can make that argument, certainly.
Yeah, I saw lists of Moms of Liberty was on that group.
Right.
I think we had the leader of Moms of Liberty on the podcast, Rob. If I'm not mistaken, she was phenomenal. They had TPUSA on that list. They had different groups, but they didn't have Antifa on that group. They didn't have, and even there's Rob, go to what's his name? Stossel. John Stossel. Can you go on YouTube and go to John Stossel? I want to give him credit on this. John Stossel has done a lot of work on SPLC.
Hey, y'all make sure y'all check out what this guy had to say. He was breaking down the finances. This is very interesting.
SPLC. And just type in SPLC if you could. Just type in SPLC John Stossel, one from 2 years ago. That one right there. Go to about minute, and we'll give credit to John. If you want to go subscribe to his channel, Rob, let's make sure we put the link below as well. So if people want to go support him. So John Stossel, go about minute, keep going. I'll tell you, keep going. About minute 4. So keep going. No, that's not minute. That's minute 1. Keep going. Minute 4, Rob. Keep going. Keep going. He's at, okay, right there. Press play. Watch what they find here. Go ahead.
Which is in offshore accounts, Caymans and places like that.
How do you know?
Oh, we look at their 990s.
Pause it right there.
The 990.
The 990 shows that they were taking money. Press play. It's going to show Cayman.
Islands?
Right there.
Now
So
the
they're
Southern Poverty Law Center calls groups that simply oppose sexually explicit content in schools anti-government extremists. Moms for Liberty and Moms for America are on the hate map because they dare do things like seek school board seats to try to stop districts from disregarding opinions
Now keep in
of
mind,
parents.
Stossel
Give
is
me
not a
break.
Republican. He's
No.
a libertarian.
No, he's a
But
libertarian.
he's a libertarian.
A well-known one.
A very well-known one, yeah. So, if this goes, I wonder what the positioning is going to be. I wonder who's going to come out defending them. How much money did they have in the account? I don't know why I saw they went from 50 million to 100 million to 200 million.
Oh, my God.
What is the, how much total money have they raised? What's the total amount of, I don't know why I saw 720 million. Maybe that was have they total raised? They've raised a lot of money. Oh, there you go. Okay, total assets in 2024. Look at that. 786.7, and some reports noting it's 822.
Bruh. Let's keep this here real quick. So this group, who I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all probably never even heard of before, but they supposedly fighting for Southern poverty. So coming back, quick little break. Internet shout out. So look, they supposed to be representing all of this and all of the people in the South getting eradicating white supremacy. These folks have $822 million worth of assets. Where's they getting this type of money from? This is why they can easily go pay a couple $1 million to so-called informants. So here's what we need to understand. Race, somebody coined this term, rich off racism. It has no skin color for who participates in this. All right. These folks, this was founded by white people, this group. So this is how much money they touching off of this nonprofit. And you want me to believe that they just doing everything on the up and up with this money, even though we haven't found any lawsuits, the so-called white supremacy that they targeting. We haven't seen the results of anything. These folks is fighting for illegal immigrants right now, bro. And here goes another thing that you need to pay attention to. If you a 501c3 and you're supposed to be about advocacy, how are you not bipartisan? These folks only rock with the Democrats, bro. See, this is why I be on that crusade on them people, because they the ones that's targeting us. It's always our view that you should be independent, right? But damn sure got a big problem with the Democrats because of the way in which they target us and use us to springboard all the initiatives. I can guarantee you they running this up with this money, and they funneling all kind of initiatives based on this. And the average person has no idea the type of money that these groups is bringing in, bro. You see what I'm saying? This is one group right here, and they touching some serious bread. And I can assure you, this is not just from no average, regular citizens sending in no donations. Remember, we didn't cover NGOs, the non-governmental organizations that can be affiliated with the government, but get funding from the government to push certain initiatives, depending on whatever administration is in charge. You feel me? So it's so much proof of this. It's really overwhelming, but it's crazy to me that we got it's real deal black folks that was arguing me down in the comments, trying to tell me that these folks is looking out for the greater good of black Americans, and they trying to get rid of white supremacy. Whole time, the groups. So kind of what he was breaking down is these people been working with the Fed. So I'm gonna show you. I don't want you to take my word for it. Go back to screen 3. Let's go back and read what they put. Well, not what they put, because we know how Wikipedia is, but it's tied and verified the fact that these folks been working with the FBI. So when the FBI brought this charge against them, they know full and well what they was doing, because they like, damn, if y'all supposed to be investigating these folks and we working together, well, how come you never gave us any of the information that you found out from this investigation work from these snitches you got inside that you done paid millions of dollars? So that's why the feds then came back at them was like, oh, nah, y'all hiding the money through the Cayman Islands. If everything y'all doing is on the up and up, then why you gotta hide the money through the payments? You feel me? Because they know that the optics do not look right that you paying. So one of the most notable events that they said that some of their so-called informants was tied to was that whole shit that happened in Charlottesville a few years ago. Some of y'all probably remember that, right? But let's scratch all that. See, this is where we got to start playing reality versus stop the media propaganda. Please tell me where in Black America today that you got a problem going to the store because the KKK won't let you in this motherfucker. Like, what is we talking about, bro? These folks trying to talk to us like we is in 1921, bro. We got a whole different set of problems that's going on right now, right? But these groups was put in position to be able to do these things. And so at the time when they was created in the 70s, they wasn't allowing Black organizations to really get in on the play. But see, now we got Black faces that are a part of this civil rights game, that people like Ben Crump and your Al Sharptons and all these folks is they let Black people get in on the grift. And that's why it's went further than ever and why we defend this. But these folks is not fighting for the liberties and the protection of Black Americans, bro. They are getting funded to be able to do whatever it is they want to do off these so-called causes that we never even authored in the first place. So hold on, we see. He said, petition for civil rights to be limited and restricted to Black Americans only. Cutoff year for eligibility shall be 1880. Push for it to be linear. So here's the thing. Civil rights was, and this is why, shout out to you. I'm not sure if you knew here, if you have been rocking with us for a while, but civil rights should have never even been the push in the first place. That is a lesser version of your inalienable rights that came from the Constitution, bro. So like they got us chasing our tail with this whole civil rights game. Matter of fact, this is why history is important. This is why we do the blend of what we do here, right? We do current events and kind of show you how they correlate with the past. So here's a perfect interlap. So this is called the SPLC, but I'm pretty sure you remember the SCLC. So let's go over to one of the ancestors, right? Get some wisdom real quick from Jose Williams out of Georgia, who don't get talked about enough, but one of his last interviews while he was still with us kind of breaks down this perfectly. Watch this here.
It made me angry because at that time I'd been in jail 85 times, and I could name you some 15 or 20 of my friends had been murdered in these various demonstrations. And Dr. King kept saying to us, we have gone around the mountain long enough. Now it's time to come in and enhance the land. And I found I don't understand what you mean, Dr. King. I don't follow you. I get the impression you're saying out of all the beatings and the jailings and the blood spilling, all of the civil rights activities, we have only been on the perimeter of this civil rights movement. And he said, Jose, you held it long and I thought you could, but that's exactly what I mean. And he went on to say that Black people in America will never, never be free. Never. Just by wiping out racism. If Black people wiped out every vestige of racism in America and totally integrated every aspect of American life, they would not be free. If Black people will never be free, and he said it with such an emphasis, until we control our fair share of the economy, that our society was economically driven. The politicians make the laws, and they implement or they supervise the implementation of the laws. But these politicians do what those boys with that money said do. And that's when he said that we must shift from the civil rights demands and to the economic demands. He also said in that meet that if I do not change, they're going to get me. But I cannot change because I know I'm pursuing God's will. And he said that when they get me, they're going to be very surprised. I want you all's commitment, because the power to free black people is not in Martin Luther King Jr. It's in this team that we put together. And I want you all to promise me that if they get me or when they get me, you'll never let them break up this team. And I guess like Jesus was talking, he told us what they would do to try to break up the team after they murdered him, after he was gone. He said they're going to try to give some of you all the most prestigious and highest paying jobs in politics. Don't take it. We're going to try to give some of you all the most prestigious and highest paying jobs in private industry. Don't take it. They're going to try to get some of you all to start your own national organization, become competitive with SPLC. Don't take it. And we promised them that. Of course, we didn't keep the promise, because that's what failed SPLC. The person that was in King's Inner Circle deserted the organization after his death. And that's what made, I don't know, to be honest about it, black people today are worse off in America than we were 35 years ago. Because
so I love watching his videos. I've watched this video a couple dozen times, mainly because, for one, he's not celebrated the way he should be, and it's pretty obvious why when you realize this story, because he straight up was saying out of his own mouth that he realized that he didn't want to say it was a waste of time what they did, but I mean, he was damn near insinuating that, because once they realized what the game really was, he realized that we had been played. But the key here to take away from this and how it relates to what we were just talking about, the civil rights movement was never what they thought it would be. Then it got hijacked by others, because they showed the perfect blueprint on how to get government attention, how to get the media spin like that. They literally created the blueprint for what all of these groups are doing now today. So here come the people like the SPLC. These folks changed one letter from what Martin Luther King them organization was, bro. And then here they come in the 70s, and they've been running ever since. They done ran it up to supreme high levels, and they ain't the only one. Hey, BLM ain't no different, y'all. Somebody shared a meme and say BLM stands for buying large mansions. They figured out the game, man. These folks is rich off of racism, right? Right now, that the system of white supremacy, that the racial structure, they already accomplished what they set out to accomplish when they implemented that, bro. We is chasing stuff that's too far in the past. We have to start worrying about what we can do right now, moving into the future by actually learning the truth from the past. Yeah, this is exactly what I just said. BLM does the exact same thing, and that's just the black face of it. The Southern Poverty Law Center is the white face of it. They do the exact same thing. All of these folks done learn the game. So when we taking on these folks and trying to defend them, like I literally got folks mad at me talking about this just administration just picking on these people. I said, boy, it's so hard, but we in a real dire situation, man. And Hosea Williams said this, that we was in a worse position. This interview came out the late 90s, early 2000s, bro. And he said we was in a worse position then than we is now. So what you think it is now, 2026, and it's going to keep getting worse until we realize what's really going on and understand this system, bro. So speaking of understanding the system, right? So y'all gotta check out Hosea Williams. If you just put it in on YouTube, you'll see part 1 and part 2 of his last words and his interview, right? Very, very insightful. But check this out. So I'm sitting here watching some NBA playoff basketball yesterday, late at night. And then come across the TV, I see Trump. Trump talking about, man, these folks that shot at me again. So I'm like, bro, I ain't gonna lie. First thing I thought, I said, nah, Trump, this right here, this sounds staged, my boy. I can't hold you. But I want to play the video first, then we're gonna get to it.
President saying a man who lives in California charged a security checkpoint armed with multiple weapons before being taken down by the Secret Service. I'm going to ask our director to roll that video that has been released now by the White House. You can see how fast this man was coming. Look to the left side of your screen, sprinting right past Secret Service when they draw their weapons and begin to fire. The shooter was not able to breach the doors to the ballroom dinner. The president also sharing that a Secret Service agent was shot in the chest but was saved by a bulletproof vest. The president saying he heard a loud noise and thought it was the sound of a tray going down, and he was quickly rushed off the stage. The president also praising law enforcement for acting quickly and saying he hopes he will be able to share more on the shooter's motivations in the coming days. The White House also releasing a photo of the alleged shooter taken down by both Secret Service and D.C. law enforcement. This is a picture right now. One of the images they've released. They've released two different images of the shooter.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking.
Bruh. So the first thing I said, damn, is Buddy black? Cause you know, he kind of looked like it laying on that ground. So when I first heard the story, because when it first came hit the news, they hadn't shared the video yet. But he was saying when he was doing the press conference that he was gonna release the footage, right? So you know, you got a lot of people making fun of the footage. It look old, it look grainy, this, that, and the third. And then, like I said, the first thing I'm thinking, a lot of people was, he in this super secure building. How is this even possible for it to happen? So then, you know, I had to do a little research. So the where they was at, they was in this hotel. You know how hotels had a ballroom, like, you know what I mean? So they say, this is the story, that Buddy was already staying at the hotel. He came there with this on his mind. So he was already in the hotel, okay, which give him access to be able to go down to the ballroom. And so basically, you see him go and charge through there. So instead of, you know, normally if you're going through there, they're going to search you, they're going to do all these other things. So he prevent that by just running through. So it was a quick bang, bang situation. You feel me? So I can kind of understand how that could happen. But let me tell you what really made me look and say, damn, something bigger is at play. Whether it was staged or not, it's something bigger at play here. So check this out. You know, normally when they had this, hey, shout out to everybody in the chat, hit the like button, go, you know, get your feet wet. We finna get it popping. How Indian territory became colonial property. We got our partner Travis from American Ancestry Decoded. Max said he want to have this conversation. Before we get to that, so you know how typically when these false flags or when these situations period happen, there's always this person that ain't got no history. They ain't nobody went to school with them. You can't pull them up on social media. You can't, none of that. It's just, they just this lone wolf that came out of nowhere to pull out this attack. So they kept saying that Buddy got social media. I said, ain't no way he got social media, bro. So check this out. This dude right here, bro. Hold on, let me zoom in on this. Because they said he was on LinkedIn. And I said, okay, if he on LinkedIn, this gotta be for real. So I go check bro out. This him right here. Cole Allen, my bad, excuse me. So they say he's from Cali. He's an engineer, scientist, and a teacher. They say he went to Caltech, everything that they announced on the news. So this is definitely bro, right? So mechanical engineer, computer scientist by degree, independent game developer, teacher by birth. All right. So we go here, and one real way to know, because I'm like, okay, maybe they just made this profile, because this him right here. This is bro right here. Matter of fact, you know it is because you see people now that they done found them and they're leaving updated comments. Right? So they went just like me and went and looked him up to see if he was real. So this from 11 months ago. He got his master's in computer science. So then if you really, you know, I'm like, okay, maybe they just created this profile. So then you go over here and then you can go check his activity, right? Oh shit, my bad, camera. I'm still here. You can go check his activity. And it's a real page. He been active on here for quite some time. All right. So it brings up a question. So here it is right here. He said, could this be political theater? It could definitely be political theater. And so the question would be, what is the goal of this particular theater. Now, it ain't too often where a Black person is the head of something like this. And right now, in this current state of politics, you know that the Black Americans is the ones leading the charge on the anti-Trump, the talking super greasy. Now, I'm telling y'all now, they may be opening a precedent to be able to look after people with them type of remarks. I don't know what the long-term play it is. Who knows if it's real, but they getting better and better at putting these things together. And I do know that it's very weird and time in which to have this Black man be the one who is so-called tried to pull this off. So all I know is, y'all, you gotta be vigilant. You gotta get off that propaganda train. No matter which side you on, you need to be on. Look at things from an autonomous view, bro. Because everything that's used to confuse us and harvest energy and give us a smoke screen for something else is all important that we analyze and break it down, but not internalize these things. Because I'm not gonna go back. If this could easily be political theater, it could be real. But guess what? I won't do. I'm not gonna lose no sleep trying to figure this out, because we got much better things to worry about, but we got to cover it just so we stay vigilant. But with that being said, we got a lot of people in the building tonight. Appreciate y'all for pulling up. We're about to have an amazing show. I just got the call. It's time for Gullah Man's Choir to go and do what they do. All right. Then after that, we're going to get to the lecture at hand. We already got Travis in the building, Matt in the back, getting ready. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and take it over to the Gullah Man's Choir. Then when we get back, we're going to get to the lecture. Before we do that, though, for those of y'all who are watching, some of y'all may need some help with some estate planning. And we got you. Go holler at our trusty friend. You can hit this QR code on the screen. You can also find the information in the description of the video. Also, by joining our Patreon, you can find other discounts. But if you're looking for estate planning, help with the trust, just need a consultation on, or maybe you're trying to do things for yourself, check them out, tell them the party sent you, and they're going to show you a lot of love. So, hey, we're going to take it over to the Gullah Man's Choir, and we're going to get to the lecture, y'all. Tap in.
100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 100 years later, the Negro is still languished in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land.
Familiar streets, still feel far from home.
Born where the ground know my name, still asking permission to stand. They sold the future in papers, now we pay just to live on the land. No change, just rules we never chose. Old lies dressed up as law. If you don't know what's been taken, you won't miss it at all. Exile in our own land, standing where we belong. Yeah. They convinced us this ain't our country. Now we've been here moving wrong. Exiled in our own land, roots deep, still feel alone. Taught us how to survive here. Never taught this was home. Hell came tied with a leash. Every favor had a fee. They call it progress, call it order. I call it quiet captivity. If the game was set before us before we learned the rules, you don't blame the player for losing when the table's rigged to choose. No border still confined. They erased us with education, left us searching our own mind. This ain't exile. exile by distance. It's exile by design. They don't have to move you if they move the truth. Now the fight is for remembrance, for the names they made us forget. Once you see it clearly, you don't ask for a seat, you said, same ground, new rules, same blood, new name. Still here, still waiting for what was never meant to change. Still here, still waiting, same blood, still waiting for what was never. Exiled in our own land, but the fog lifting slow. They can't keep what we remember. They can't own what we know. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, 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 oh,
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
They cut the story into pieces. Told us pick one. Found my name down, made it fit in they system. Whole bloodline got trimmed to a sentence. Now I'm looking in the mirror like something been missing. Got rivers in me, they never mapped out. Got names in my bones, they never let out. Every time I felt different, I was dead, right? They just buried the truth under headlines. Split me up, then they labeled it clarity. Now we fighting over fragments of identity. If I'm everything, why they narrow me? I'm putting all my pieces back deliberately. Don't dilute me, don't reduce me. I'm a blend they couldn't blueprint. Every layer got a voice. Let it speak. It's that Creole soul, unfold, don't fold. Every root I hold, turn me hold. It's that Creole soul, not one code I've been told. Now I know, yeah. Feel that? That ain't confusion, that's memory. We've been walking around edited versions, whole identity stuck behind curtains. Took the depth and traded it for surface. Now we searching for worth and what they purchased. But I feel it when the rhythm hit different, like my body recognized what's been hidden. Certain sounds make my spirit sit up like you've been here before. I can't forget it. They simplified us just to manage the narrative, turned inheritance into comparison. But the truth don't break under pressure. It just wait for the right ones to carry it. Don't dilute me, don't reduce me. Yeah. I'm a blend they couldn't blueprint. Every layer got a voice. Let it speak. It's that Creole
Creole soul, unfold, don't fold. Every root I hold, turn me hold. It's that Creole soul. Not one cold, I've been told. Now I know. I don't gotta choose a side. I don't gotta cut my ties. Every line inside me mine. I'm the sum, not the fraction. I'm the truth past the caption. All my blood in alignment. Say it plain. We not one note, we harmony. Now I move like I carry an archive. Every step got a past that survive. I ain't searching for self in they boxes. I rebuilt it from what they tried to hide. So when I speak, it's layered intention. Not just pain, it's full dimension. We don't need their permission. We remember, that's the mission. Don't dilute me, don't reduce me. Don't dilute me. I'm a blend they couldn't blueprint. Every layer got a voice. Let it speak. It's that Creole soul. Unfold, don't fold. Every root I hold, turn me old. It's that Creole soul. Not one code, I've been told. Now I know. They told us pick one. We picked all of it. That's power.
Yeah, that's that good soul music right there. Get you full, man. Get you right before we do what we do. All right. Appreciate everybody for showing up. Let me go and get Maggie here so we can get Sunday Stir started. Tap in, man. Tap in.
Tap in, you heard me? Y'all hear me live? We live?
Yes, sir. Good to go.
Okay, we good to go. Tap in. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? Sunday service. Gullah Mask, quiet your boy. Gullah Mac. Mac Gaither. Shout out to the party. Maranatha to y'all. Hey, peace to everybody in the chat. And then watch this is after the fact. You heard me? Tap in. Yo, you know, man, again, man, Gullah Mask, quiet Creole soul. Hey, actually, kind of when we did the build last week, because I had like, a little time off, I've been crazy busy. Shout out to the Provident Marketplace where we shooting at right now. You hear me? I got a lot of shooters in front of me right now, which is crazy. However, I was looking at the Colonial and I was doing a build. I'm like, we're gonna go down a little rabbit hole with it. But first, let's get to the ideal of first just dealing with the Creole, you know what I'm saying? And kind of come up with a way that we could go ahead and give soul behind it of really touching what's, deeper than the flesh, you know what I mean?
Connection, yeah.
You know what I mean? The connection there. So in a manner of it, ethically speaking, as I speak to y'all, that soul, that Creole soul, led to obviously the build of just to make sure we clarify from last week, the term Creole means somebody being born in a colony. See what I'm saying? So before anybody's different Creoles, because as we were showing before last week, the different colonies that were in the Americas are being called the New World as it got coined the Americas. So within that, the West Indies, you hear me? These terms that end up getting stuck in history to now get later on changed into different things based off what the original etymology of these colonies doing what they did in what we call today America Day. We're in North America, United States, you heard me? So we understand the development to be able to go over what happened during colonial time amongst the indigenous people, amongst the people being brought in, black or white, as they will call it today, Americans, and the backgrounds and different things that were happening. That's what we talk about during this time frame too. Very interesting enough, you know what I mean? But I gotta just get to last week too also, before we bring Travis up and we get to it, you know what I'm saying? Can you bring up the first link from last week? That was I know we was really doing Creole soul, but that was something that needed to stand out. And I'm not gonna play the clip from what obviously this was me coming back, but we were going through it kind of fast, and I felt like I wanted to just because it got America's Revealed. We got Travis as a guest tonight, so obviously America's Revealed, and decoded and all those different things, you know what I'm saying, is something that we want to make sure people, you know, that we tap into on the side of the party. Maroonville, by the way, Maroonville. Shout out to all American Maroons outside. You heard me? Gullah. You heard me? Shout out to all my indigenous folk that's tapped in with us. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my Yahoo. You heard me too. You know what I mean? All the folks that's tapped in with us. You heard me? Black European. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you might identify as. You know what I'm talking about? Kinfolk. Check this out though. Yeah, greetings to y'all too. Peace to everybody. Everything's all as well. Let's slide down real quick. I want you see where that word right there on that first page, go back a little bit. You see where it says 1 paragraph of 8 page? We see that word right there?
Yeah.
You see how I got the "ite" on the end of it?
Yep.
You know, it's like when you look at words like this, you start to say, you know, when you get into English, and I used to be bad at school, y'all, with English. English is probably one of my worst categories to this day. You know what I'm saying? These words, the pronunciations, I butcher them. I ain't gonna lie.
Oh, yeah. ASAP.
They gonna get messed up. Hey, I read, I might have to go look it up, but I'm gonna mess it up, though. I'm gonna say it wrong, okay? But, Kashita, however you might pronounce it out there. You see how it's spelled? Kaushite. And it has, right after it says creek, right? Now, it talked about the migration legend situation that we were bringing up last week about Emperor Brim, right? Also, with surname Bamarin. So we're going to slide down real quick, though, just because I thought, you know, clear something up to make sure from last week. And it's still tied to what we're going to be talking about today, how certain things got transferred over, right? From indigenous hands into colonial hands, you know what I mean? So, again, Richard L. Thornton, you heard me? Yeah, that's the person that tied to the putting this together from his research, right? You got the dictionary and everything tied to the word. Shout out to my Esther Lusty. When we say Esther Lusty over at the party, that's my black folk, that's my kinfolk, you heard me? Especially in the Southeast, living within the territories of Muskogee, as they call it, Indian Territory, before it became known as Georgia, Carolinas, Alabama, Northern Florida. You hear me? And shout out to all my folk out there in Louisiana too, because y'all got ties to these terms as well. Esther Lusty, you hear me? Yep. Between the Chickasaw and you know, Choctaw.
Yep.
And there's people using the same Muskogee trade language. So this word Esther and Lusty is being used across the region. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah. Keep dropping
East and West Florida.
Yeah, East and West Florida. See, that's what I want to make sure. We saw the map last week. That's why we showed that last week, how before colonial things start coming in, Spain, by the way, you know what I'm saying? And I got some shit for y'all, right? Because I want to show this first though. Let's slide down. Cause I don't know if we read all this real quick. And in a minute, you could, if Travis is here, he could pull up.
Yeah, he here. Yep.
Let him pull up. I want him to see this too. I want his feedback on this. You know what I mean?
All right, Travis, I'm about to bring you up, bro.
Innocent. Hey, great to be here, man.
What's up, bro?
Hey, so I just want to. I love what you, Matt. Okay, so you're not. It's funny. You said you struggled with English, right? And I'm listening to you. I'm like, okay, I don't understand what the guy says. But what's interesting is that was the one thing I had a knack for, like in first grade, right? Now I don't know why I understand English so well. Like I sucked at everything else, like academically. My handwriting was, I got a C+ in, but I could spell. And now I'm realizing they're spells, right? Like as I've gotten into the world more. And so it's funny because it's sort of like now I am beginning to spot words that I know for sure are not white boy European English origin words. And I know they're yours. I know. There's no and the reason I can talk like that is because that's like one of my talents. Like I am good with the English language. I'm the wordsmith, So I just think what you guys are talking about here, I mean, not that you need to respect my viewpoint of it, but yeah, I mean, even the word there sounds to me like they're talking about the Cushites.
Right. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
I'm giving you like, I feel like I have some better understanding of a lot of this just because of that's like my talent. Like I really know English for whatever that's worth, right? So I know what is not English is my point. Alleluia, Jehovah, I did a whole report on Yankee because I know that shit is not English. I know it. Like, I know where it comes from. Just like you guys have your DNA. You know, I have some Italian in me, so I do think I might have 1%.
Yeah, you probably got.
I mean, I'm grasping. I'm grasping.
1%.
But my point is, like, I don't know if, you know, there must be other people like me out there, is what I just want to say, of European descent who are good at English, who I would imagine would come to the same conclusions I'm coming to if, you know, they were presented this information and framed correctly, right? You know, all the lies that go in distortions, but Appalachia. I mean, I live now near Ocala. So when I think of Ocala, I'm like, no, that's really Ocala. It's Alabama. That's not Alabama, right? It's like, I was watching this other YouTuber. He was talking about the word Allah. And finally, I just had the comment. I couldn't help myself. I'm like, well, in America, you have Alabama, Allegheny. I don't know. There's like 4 or 5 Alamata River. You have Allah all over the place, right in front of your face. And those aren't English words.
Yeah.
They're not Latin words. They're not English words. And another lie that I've caught on to is they will take your words and say they were, this is just theory, but I feel like they may have created Latin as like the lie, like that's the language to cover up a lot of your words. Why did it become a dead language? So how does that make sense? How does the ruling empire of the world have a dead language? Dead languages belong to the conquered. The conquered have dead languages. The conquerors keep their language. Yeah. Just saying, something for somebody else to research. I got enough to handle, but I'm sorry. When you made that statement about yourself in English, I just couldn't help it. I was like, man, I got to speak up, and you're probably totally onto it. Just coming, I'm looking at the lens from this way, and you're looking at it from that way, and we're totally seeing the same thing.
As long as I ain't tripping. I mean,
we're drawing the same deductions, you know.
Right. I mean, I've done some study with the Muskogee language, right? Particularly etymology, gone through their dictionary at least 4 or 5 times. I'm gonna just say in the last 5 years at least, because of me having to look up these words. And being like, wait, this word wasn't originally tied to them. Or we using this word, but this word really isn't in the dictionary, even like the Muskogee word itself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's how did the origin of these words come about? And it's tied to certain things intriguingly in the colonial time frame of things taking place. So there's an overlap, you know what I mean, on top of each other, things happening too. And that is not being really talked about or decoded or exposed. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I want to have a conversation with you, kind of coming out of the Creole Soul Bill we did last week, with understanding how the development of Creole as a colonial means born in a colony. So, you know, that has nothing to do with your complexion if you were born in a colony, right? Your ancestors were born in a colony. They were born in a colony, 13 colony, French, Dutch, whatever it might be, Spanish, the Portuguese. That's colonial time frame before United States of America was formed. So, you know, real quick, though, I wanted to go through this right here. And I don't know if you got a chance to read. I think we tried to send this to you to look at, just again, make sure you had a little update on this one. But
I mean, all this by the way, I've done a deep dive myself on Savannah to the original conversion of your people under Oglethorpe. I mean, there's a whole story written by the Methodists. The Methodists have books just detailing, you know, the forced marriages, how they went to the English courts with the title after the marriage. You know, it's you know, what's amazing to me is these Protestant churches wrote all this down, guys. I mean, I'm just going to let you know, you can have some fun on Google Books researching these keywords, and then put in there like Methodist notes, or, you know, Baptist conference, you know, 1870. They were talking about what they were doing to you in all of their conferences. It's amazing what's actually there, and they've allowed to be digitized. And this all makes, to me, it all makes sense. And then they're learning your words, right? So I'm just, I'm thinking like a European. I'm learning your words, and I'm like, oh, okay. So what I'm going to do now that I've studied you is I'm going to mirror you, and I'm going to use the same word but have a different meaning for it. It's the classic forked tongue
Yeah.
It's the fourth tongue that's talked about in, the Bible for what it's worth.
Yep.
Right. So we gonna slide
I
down.
don't want to go any more deeper on that, but yeah, I just want to say I'll leave it at that so we don't get censored. But it's the forked tongue.
Right.
Without
So
a doubt.
within this,
Two meanings.
And this right here is kind of saying that when you look at what we were reading last week.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
How it's saying how the Appalachian, for instance, which is tied to what we know today, the Appalachian Mountains, right?
Yeah, right.
Southeast at one point was also known as Appalachia territory, and then in Florida, but they never called themselves that. Since you brought up Latin, it says until the Spanish told them that was their name. So the Spanish got the word.
Of course, we told you your new names.
Right. This is how certain things are being documented on
maps.
Funny enough, right? And you're not starting to see, because who's making the map? It's not the indigenous people making these maps.
No,
right. Colony-wise.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So let me connect to Appalachia because I live in North Florida now, near Alachua County. Right. No American history book is going to connect to these kids that Appalachia connects to Alachua, like Alachua, Appalachia, right? Like they're not going to. They don't do that on purpose, right? Because if they start to take the average whitey kid and connect dots for them, you're going to have you're not even going to need a revolution. Everybody's just going to be like, get the hell out of here, because it's so obvious. So they never connect these dots that we're talking about in an academic setting. Of course, we know that's on purpose because I know enough to know, and I've heard enough of these guys that went to the University of Florida in the 1950s. These guys have known, this stuff for 70 years.
Right.
They've been bolting down. So I'm convinced it's been a big bolt down, since the Civil War. Which that's a whole nother. We'll come back to that, in another episode.
Hey, Kofi said right here, once they name you and you accept it, you're under the jurisdiction. It's a reason that they're using these names and went through all this trouble to learn the language to create a new version.
It's due diligence, right? Think about just to give you like a quick way to frame it, just think about the way a Wall Street guy operates. That's all. It's not about skin color, right? Just think about the way any colored guy of any color, any nation who's in that type of business, right, invest in it. This is how they operate, right? They do their due diligence. They see what's already there. They never build anything from scratch, guys. You realize that, right? They never build anything from scratch. They're always acquiring. It's always mergers and acquisitions. So just to help you maybe in general, like when you're doing your own research and you're reading, to maybe help you hey, what was the motivation? It's the same type of mentality.
Right. And I'm gonna show something, matter of fact, and I'm gonna send it to Monte right now. I just thought about this, right? Because last week, again, I wasn't able to go into because we were on something last week. I didn't want to get thrown off, right? But in this conversation with you, I wanted to share this with everybody actually that's tapped in, right? So in this paragraph, it even afterwards just got through that whole point of clarifying. Say, excuse me.
I just was reading out loud. Yeah, they never called themselves that name.
Right, they never called. That's what it's saying here. So, and it says the Great White Path in the Florida Panhandle, named the Appalachian, which is a plural of Appalachia. The Coati is an Itza Maya proper noun. Mayan. Mayan people is what it's saying here. All right, now look. Which means principal eagle people. So Apachcola is the Anglicization, which will be tied to the 13 colonies we were saying last week, of the proper noun. It's just Apachcora, the Shakora, which means Appalachian people in the Appalachian language. Appalachia itself is a Polonian word from Peru, which means descendants from the sea. So the people, technically, if I'm reading this right?
So like the Phoenicians.
Huh?
I'm just saying, so like the Phoenicians, people of the sea.
Right. You
can't make this up, is my point. It's like, wait a second.
Right, but they're saying Mayans. Like they say Mayan, it's a Maya. So it's a Maya is tied to Mayans, right? So
absolutely. Okay, so I would never have believed you 5 years ago connecting all this to the Mayans, but there's actually history books written by the establishment in the 1800s who they were talking about this whole thing and the Mayans being here like it was normal. And so I believe what's happened, again, I tie this to the Civil War. There's a new group that takes over this country. This is the beginning of the real whitening of the United States and the whitening of the history. That disappears and they turned it into some ancient, crazy, far off thing. But it's weird to read books written in the 1800s by Europeans from Harvard. I'm not talking about people spaced out. I'm talking about people part of the colonization team. All right. Mm-hmm. They're just talking about the Mayans being in the Southeast. Like it's normal. Like it's really interesting. And then I just want to say this. I read a book written in the 1930s where the woman goes, that's the one she goes into Okefenokee Swamp. Swanee River, Strange Green Land. For those of you out there, you're not going to be able to buy it digitally, I think. It's only like in print. But Swanee River, Strange Green Land. A lot of you, I think, would appreciate it more than I will because I'm missing 90% of what it's describing. But I have the feeling it's describing a lot of your ancestors. And here's what's interesting is that in that book, the lead character of the book is a tall, swarthy, copper-colored man that they call Freeman. You can't make this up. All right, he's obviously one of you, right? And he tells her the story that it is said, right? Kind of like Donald Trump, it is said. But I think this is true. It is said the Mayans once ascended the Swanee River to the Okefenokee and that they gave it the name Swanee. Now, I'm not saying that's the total fact, but I am saying you have a man in the 1930s in the Okefenokee Swamp in Georgia telling a white woman working for President Roosevelt during the New Deal, right? Showing her around the swamp. Again, Swanee River, Strange Green Land, amazing source. And one of the stories that she's basically writing down all the stories that your people are telling her. I'm telling you, it's really something. And that's one of the stories. And then he has one other story. And then I read it's another book written by my guy, Bart Tram, the European that's traveled the Southeast. And in it, he got a special canoe and he got to go down the Alamata River. And he says that 50 miles away from the nearest white settlement were villages of the Sons of Liberty. Can't make this up. He's writing that in the 1780s. In the 1930s, in the same area, a woman's talking about a guy named Freeman telling her about the fucking Mayans being up in the Swanee River. That's crazy stuff for your average white European. That's some crazy stuff.
Yeah, for real.
And she's like an Ashkenazi Jew. Like her name is like Margaret Lubavowicz, right? And so I'm trying to imagine this entire episode of her being guided through the swamp. Right, one of your men.
Blockbuster movie right there.
Yeah. So there's another area to research. What was the New Deal really about? Was it another war on your people? How many dams did they build? How many villages did they flood? It looks a lot like Prohibition. Just gonna say. Anyhow, that's it.
I mean, within that, right? When I just brought up what I brought up, since you said all that about the Swanee and the Mayans being, you say, people might debate about it being factual, not right, but other terms like Altamaha River, which you could find, right? That's tied to Mayan origins and things like
Atla, right? Like Atla is like kind of Mayan, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. That whole origin of the word. So this is what they're depicting the Mayans to look like.
There you go. Copper color.
Hold on real quick.
Redskin. I mean, you really can't make it up. There it is.
That's the murals.
Where's this at?
Mexico. Bonampak.
Yeah.
You see them dreads? Yeah.
The dreads. I love the feathered headdresses, So when I tell people that Tammany Hall had people dressed in feathered headdresses in 1820 marching around, that's who your guys are still in power, even in the United States, is my belief. In the 1800s, this is the big cover-up. It's a huge cover-up.
Yes,
it's huge, man.
It's decoded, man. Like because I have questions. Some people will try to like say that these people, and even knowing like when you bring this up, most people just be like they don't kind of get crickets, right? Because it'd be like, so yeah, who are these dark-skinned people who don't look like the other people that are saying are American? Why aren't these people being identified as
This isn't black. And I always tell people, like, my favorite little trick with white Europeans is like, so when you see somebody from India who's like dark as charcoal, do you call them black or Negro? And they're like, no. But I'm like, they're actually way darker than the average so-called black so-called African American in America. They're like, oh yeah, I never thought about that.
Never thought about that one, right?
Framing works, man. It spells work.
Good.
It works.
You know, hey, but I mean, I just wanted to, from last week, y'all see, I just wanted to show a connection.
Guys.
Something very interesting I felt from last week, and I didn't get to put this together. So you see Itamaya and other languages before the word Muskogee, right? Because Muskogee, once again, is, as it just showed you, 1740s is when they show the word being used to formulate a confederacy, imperial governance that's taking place in this time frame amongst the indigenous groups of people. So, and the British, the Spanish, and the French. And for the record, in North America, by the way, just before we slide on and get into this, in North America, the first colony was by the French Huguenots with the Timucua Indians prior to the Spanish coming in with St. Augustine in 1565. So I want y'all to know, it's very interesting that they say that these French Huguenots were in this area and that the Spanish came in and tore up. It was called Fort Caroline, by the way. You know what I mean? So this is just interesting that, you know, we're talking about from Indian territory to colonial territory and how different groups could have came in and been doing their thing. You know what I'm saying? So you want to slide on this one, Monte? And Travis, before we get going, you see it? Is there anything you want to say?
Well, I have to just comment on the French Huguenots. I'm going to point out to you guys that they're the Reformed Protestants of France. So if you're looking in your history, European history, they're the guys that get booted out of Spain and Iberia, right, as part of the Inquisition, Ferdinand and Isabella, right? And I just want to point out that I've done a lot of deep dive on this, but they created a new cult. It's the French Reformed Protestant cult. It's called Calvinism, John Calvin. So you want to have some fun looking at how I believe they create this specific brand of Christianity. Here's what I've come to realize. I believe they created for you. They create this cult, this new form of Christianity, and then they immediately invest, you know, I don't want to say invade because I don't want to get taken, but, you know, they come and colonize you. So before you have the King James, because I know a lot of you are aware of the King James, that's 1610 or whatever. John Calvin's doing his thing in 1550. So North America is colonized mostly by the Protestants and the Huguenots. So the guy for you to focus on it in terms of who created the spirituality, who created the cosmology of these guys coming over in North America, it's John Calvin. It's just good, you know, research there to go into. It's a real thing. And they're backed by the Bourbons. That's a big note. That's right. So the Bourbons, who are what? In Louisiana. So you got to start. There's a lot of dots, you know, a lot of little strands we can connect here just about this. We can stop right here and go into 500 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Just saying, yeah, it's amazing.
So yeah, that's what the title for the show is about. Monte, I think you got the words covering Travis's face.
Yeah, I was gonna read it real quick. So, but bro say race is not a biological. Race is a social construct used to separate us. Great to see you all discussing this subject matter. Yeah, shout out to you, bro. Breaking the barriers. Hey, the truth. If you willing to listen and research and find the truth, it unites a lot of people. That's the whole purpose of us doing this. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's what we own. Matt, where you want to take it to next?
Slide on them. You want to slide on them a little bit, then we can go to a couple of videos. But just let people get a little context, I guess, of the whole, you know what I mean? This is part of our presentation here with the conversation. Core question, right? As you know, for the night here, y'all, is that how did indigenous land become colonial land, right? And was it conquest or reclassification? What systems made it permanent? You hear me? These are core things that I think people need to really look at and you know what I mean, pay attention to within the conversation tonight. You know what I'm saying? So you can slide one more time. So we can go come back to this slide. It's the same slide I gave you, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same slide.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, my mind, because you know I've got a lot going on. All right, so boom. Before 1492, land equal communal ancestral. All right, y'all, and then governance comes in. Then it says nations and confederacies. This is the development phase of what's going on. No colonial borders existed. See, on the timeline, we make sure on the timeline, on the algorithm of what we're talking about tonight, that we stay on point with this. This is what's going to keep us grounded on the path. You hear me? Veronica, slide, keep going. Travis, you can tap in anytime you want any of these slides before we pull up the first clip.
No. Yeah, I'm good. I'm just following. Right. Yeah, this is right on.
European arrival initiates global claims. Land claimed before physical occupation, religious and royal authority used. See what I'm saying? So this, we obviously know these things are happening. You know what I mean? This is in the 15th century. This is what's taking place. We covered some of these on our topics before. Aussie and Today Negro and how this is tied to the Alhambra Decree and the Papal Bulls and all those things that's coming from.
Hey, Matt.
What happened?
Tell them what Europeans at this time. Okay. So
it's Spain and Portugal.
Yeah. Okay. So we make, because when people say European, sometimes we throw it into a box as if that just means, you know, that that's a blanket. You feel me? But it was different. It was different powers from Europe touching America, trying to do different things.
Right.
But they came here and all they did was claim shit. They just claimed land.
They made a claim.
They didn't have control over nothing. They just claimed land.
They made
put it on the record, basically.
That part. You know what I'm saying?
Wow. Oh yeah, he just nailed it. Put it in the record. Get it into the record, right? Once it's in the record, that so once you've agreed to the set of rules, you're gonna play. That's why I call it a league. They're in league together, right? Catholic, Protestant, the 12 different Protestants, the Mormons. They all end up like, if you're going to continue to exist, you're going to play by these set of rules, right? And this I mean, get it into the system, and it might take 40 years or 60 years till we actually control it, but it's in our system, and we're going to recognize and benefit, right? The name on that piece of paper. I mean, that's a powerful thing. When you think how powerful that is, that piece of paper with the name on it in a system that somehow is able to carry that title and that position over, and the rich people involved in this have confidence in it that they will get rewarded when the event finally occurs. As nasty as all that is, but that's what they're thinking, right? That's the dynamic.
That part. Slide in one more slide, then we're gonna go to a clip and come back to it. Matter of fact, we're gonna try to get to the Portuguese since Monte said that, right? All right, so Portuguese model, right? Trade, plantation, colony, Brazil as a resource extract zone, slave trade integration. And now you obviously know when it comes to Brazil, you know what I'm talking about, also known as Lusitania, Novo Lusitania, by the way. You know what I'm talking about? Novo Lusitania.
Wait. Can I just interrupt and say that the ship that was sunk that got America in the World War I was the Lusitania, and Lusitania was a spot in Iberia.
Yep.
There's a whole bunch we're connecting here. It's a wild word, Lusitania.
Lusitania is a wild. When I first came across it, hey Travis, I was.
Is it English or Indian? That's the question. Who had it first?
Well, Lusitania is tied to, like you said, the Iberian situation. And it was what the Romans, Latin, when they came in and conquered a group of people, Lusitania.
It was like a tribe, right?
They gave it. Say again?
They were like a tribe. They were one of the Iberian tribes.
Right. They were an Iberian tribe that was revolting against Rome. At that time, that's how the name came about. And it stuck. Obviously all the way into 1500s.
So how crazy, though, that the ship that they say, so when you're reading your American history, and how did we get into World War I? The Germans sunk the Lusitania. Well, there's got to be something to that, right? I mean, at some point,
just the word itself makes you like ponder. You know what I mean? Like, hold on, wait a minute. You know,
right?
Once you know what the word really means in history, you're like, because you wouldn't think about it unless you know. Well, Portugal used to also be known as Lusitania. most people want to know geographically that, oh, when they say Lusitania, they're talking about what is known to be Portugal. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, and Spain, Castile, all these areas could be overlap with this term. So when, again, though, Brazil, slave trade, integration, don't forget.
Can I just stop you guys there though on that one though? The Lusitania, do we know whether it is it a word in the Americas as well? Perhaps before, like that's where I get interested in. They say that, you know, the slave, but now that we know that a lot of the slave trade was kind of in reverse, what's to say they didn't take the word Lusitania from the Americas to Iberia? It's kind of like the Basque are in Iberia, and they can't explain to us the Basque language, Euskara. They can't. There's all this so-called mystery. So why are all these mysteries involved in Iberia? And we know Iberia is heavily involved in transportation between here and America. That's all. You know, there's something going on.
Definitely something to it. There's something to it, and and they're not telling us about it. But again, this Lusitania, I just pulled it up just so I can make sure I ain't tripping every time I look.
I'm not crazy.
No. It says Lusitania was an ancient Roman province covering modern-day Portugal and part of Western Spain. You know what I'm saying?
I wonder what they look like.
Lusitania. Lusitania. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're going to tell us right there.
I'm just trying to say, like, so basically, what are we getting at here, right? So,
Iberian.
Yeah, it's just weird. There's a lot to that word. God.
Yeah, and the person's name is Viritus, Viriathus. You know what I'm saying? So he was the leader of the Lusitania that got conquered by the Romans at this time.
That was the name?
Yeah, that was his name. And
he's in Veritas. It's Veritas.
Yeah, I messed it all up. See?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm part Italian. I think I might have some melanin in me. But seriously, like, no, think about that though. What you just said. Right? You see all these connections. Where do these words start from? That's all I'm trying. At this point, it's like, did they really start there in Italy and Iberia, or are they already over here hearing these words? And there's just some kind of slave trade, as they call it, going on, and they're bringing these words, you know, back into Europe, and it's just something, you know, somebody else needs to, like, you know, that's a whole YouTube channel. But I'm just saying, there's a lot of correlation, you know. And
we covered something.
Nobody wants to give us the timing.
Hey, we'd be stuck on Lusitania for the whole show. We really wanted.
yeah. I mean, you know, and it starts World War I. How do you make that up? That's, you know, come on, something's going on.
Go ahead, Monte. Whenever you're ready, next slide. We're gonna go to this clip. All right, so Spanish model, because we covered that Spain last week. We talked about Florida, how North America, Florida, and the East and West Florida's, Florida, land of the flowers. Conquest, conversion. Obviously, they want people to become Christians. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, that's just how it is. Control, income media. You can look up that labor system, which is tied to slave trade and labor, slavery, positions.
Well, can I stop you there on it? Encomienda sounds a lot like economy, no?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
So where did let somebody go look up when encomienda first became a Spanish word, and if it became a Spanish word after 1492, then you know that it originated here. So any so-called European words that originate after 1492, 9 times out of 10, they're your words. I'm just going to give you that rule of thumb. Continue on. I'm just trying to say, look at that word. That's economy. That's economy.
Encomienda was a Spanish colonial labor system. It says from 1503 to 1791, where the crown granted settlers, the encomendos, the right to extract tribute and labor from specific indigenous populations in exchange for providing protection and Christian instruction. It was a legalized form of exploitation and resembling feudalism, often forcing natives to work in mines or agricultural lands.
Those are facts. I call this the hostaging system, or the real slavery they never told you about.
Yeah.
This is the really bad slavery. What was going on in the South wasn't, they've totally reversed the story. What he just described is the real enslavement. That's the real day-to-day enslavement of most people. Forced conversion and some form of hostaging, using your parents, your kin as leverage to get them to behave, to get them to, what I mean by behave, work for these guys. That's what I mean.
Yeah, it said this word
that's what they mean.
Hey, shout out to trustee friends. They say this word incomedia means, in parentheses, to entrust. It was designed as a reciprocal system where indigenous people pay tribute, and in parentheses, it has labor, goods, gold to a Spaniard, who in turn promised protection and conversion to Catholicism. You know what I'm saying? You became, Catholic.
I'm gonna stick with what I said about economy because, but your definition of the word is the definition of economics. Read the definition. Read the definition again.
It says derived from the Spanish verb incomodar, to entrust. It was designed a reciprocal system where indigenous people paid tribute, labor, goods, gold to a Spaniard, to in turn promise protection and conversion to Catholicism.
So labor, goods, and gold. Labor, product, currency. That's an economy. The GDP is the output. It is the, you know what I'm saying? Like product is your economy, the gross domestic product of labor. And they have us all, including us Europeans, warped into accepting the encomienda. I'm telling you. I guarantee you.
Yeah,
that ain't no fucking Spanish word that they just made up. No.
Yeah, it's interesting things. I think people just need we're decoding things tonight in this conversation with you. For the people,
their very definition of the word is what we now think of as an economy. Labor plus product and money is a fucking economy. I mean, what else? I guarantee you that we'll find out that's an indigenous word. Something about Akono. It'll be spelled different. It'll be spelled like Akono. It'll be spelled like AKONO or whatever. But the sound will be similar. Is all I'm going to say.
Yeah, it's crazy because when they say protection too, it said protection as underneath Catholicism. It didn't say protection as a human or a race, right? It's talking about you going to exchange.
Sounds like a terror
for to be protected by the crown, which is in Catholicism, Christianity.
That's the United States Navy plus tariffs. They're protecting us.
That's very interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the exact same. I'm just trying to tell you that language is the exact same language they're still using today, like in major corporate and economic things. That's what it has to be derived from it. That's all I'm saying. I mean, I feel like again, it's an example. They came over here, they studied you. They did their investment banking, Wall Street due diligence on you, and they went back to their superiors in Europe and the Mediterranean and modern Turkey because. If you read about what a lot of these Huguenots look like, they say they look like Turkish professors. Now, that's a whole other episode. But my point is that's what they were doing. That's why we find these books. When you find these books written by missionaries, they are doing due diligence on your ancestors.
Yep.
That's their mission. Does anybody ever ask what the missionary's mission is?
I have.
Yeah, I mean, just one time. Ask yourself, well, what was the mission of the missionaries?
To convert you to
there you go. I mean, here we are.
I mean, conversion.
And the best way to do that is by befriending you. It's not because this whole thing of where they just hit the shores and then it was able to take over. It's not possible to do that.
Spiritual warfare.
Yeah, exactly. They had to
get the forked tongue. They're being nice to you. They're saying, "Oh, we both like." So I did a deep dive on the cross, and the cross was here way before the Christians got here, right? So then it's like, so I start thinking to myself, well, maybe you guys brought the cross to Europe. Okay, that's what really happened. And these guys took that cross, which had a certain meaning to the ancient civilization. They changed the meaning of it and brought it to you, and had all these wonderful conversations and made friends with you while they were. That's the forked tongue, right? It's the dual meaning of a word, the meaning that the audience thinks it means and the meaning that the speaker means. It's the serpent tongue, right? They blame it on the serpent, right? That's a whole other thing. But that's the forked tongue, right? This is what they do.
I mean, it's
liberty. What is liberty?
These words are very forked tongue. You got to look at all these systems, but the system that is why. you know, like how you just pointed out, that's our economy system that we just broke down for people. Like, so I think people bigger, I mean, as far as symbolisms being all over the planet that we can say indigenous people, wherever they're located at, already were using, and then somebody comes in as a colonial and uses it from their symbolism and say, hey, oh, you guys got this same symbol? Yeah, we're oh no, bro, it's not even the same thing. You hear me? This ain't even the
We don't
same
even know
thing.
you, bro.
We don't
Right,
know.
it's not even the same.
So, what you got? What you got going? You know what I'm talking about? Either way, what's the next slide so we can get to the clips, man? I know we have a good.
All right. Yeah, no, we welcome.
I mean, I'm sorry, this is so interesting. Yeah.
The French model, right? See,
oh yeah,
all the colonies, real quick. Alliance. See, so they took a different position. The French, when they came in with the indigenous people, they took more of an alliance standpoint. You know what I mean? And that's why it's interesting, like how the French Huguenots that we brought up earlier, Fort Caroline, are dealing with. You know what I mean? They had a different position before Spanish came in and said, we destroyed them, and we want control. We want you to convert and become underneath crown protection of us. You know what I mean?
Can I stop you there though? In Carolina,
yeah.
Is that yet? I mean, you got the so we know you got what, the Kerouacs, you got the Caribs, you got all these Caros running around on the east coast of the modern United States, but we're going to say that Carolina is named after some European, named after Charles. Is that what we're going to say?
That's what they would say, the colony. But
I mean, it's another example of like, you have to show me that back in England in the 14 and 1500s, they were using a nickname for Charles called Carol or Caroline. And if they weren't, then it's an indigenous American Indian word. Bottom line. That's there is no other way, unless you're going to tell me the Europeans came over and got real creative. They crossed that ocean and they get really creative. Or they cross that ocean and they steal ideas.
I mean, you could definitely blame it, right? Maybe we could say it like this, but you say it like this, right? That colony could have been what you call the King Charles is definitely the one tied to the colony, right? But technically, Carolina isn't something that really came from his name. You know what I'm saying? Because Charles and Caroline, to me, is a stretch. But you know, hey, that's what they say when we look at certain things. And definitely, there's a Fort Caroline prior to the 13 colonies even being established with French Huguenots supporting.
Listen, I'll give Charleston to King Charles. I'm not going to give Carolina to King Charles. I'm not giving that to him. You can give me a Harvard professor.
That is a French.
Tell me all his fucking research, and I'm going to look at him and be like, listen, third ball.
Wait a minute.
Then show me that word being used in England prior to the English showing up here, and then you have a case. Everything else is just made up paperwork. Bottom line. That's it. This is how easy these tests on these words are. This is what scares people. If you come up with forensic tests, objective ways to assess something that you can't deny, then that's why they don't want to talk about even these words. They don't, because Jesus, I mean, I've been telling my white baby boomer parents that 80% of the towns are Indian names. You don't realize that? What do you think? Do you think a white guy can't? Or he started naming his stuff. Why would a white dude from England that's because I'm one of those guys. I got it in my ancestry. Yeah. White English Protestants are not into naming shit after the Mediterranean or naming any. No, these are the most like boxed in culture in the world. That's by design. But come on, they're not naming anything Mississippi. They're not naming anything Tallahassee. They're not naming any fucking thing, any of this. I'm telling you what I know from my DNA. No way.
Yeah.
I'll give it St. Petersburg. It's really silly. Like at some point, this really starts to look really, if it wasn't so horrible, the results of it in the real world, we could all laugh at it. But because it's starting to become like a fucking clown show, in my opinion. I mean,
when you start unraveling it,
it's a clown show.
Yep. And
we've all been forced. I know your ancestors, I'm sure, were forced at gunpoint to accept the clown show, and that's what really went down. And that's what happened. After the Civil War. So you're gonna accept the clown show, we're gonna fucking kill you. Okay.
quick side
I'm
note.
a Christian.
Again, the French, though, funny enough, Florida, French and Spain, North America, they could be kind of like neck and neck, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Colonially speaking. Because Fort Caroline, before Carolina, was an attempted French colonial settlement in Florida, located on the banks of St. John's River in present-day Duval County, Jacksonville, you heard me. And it says it was established under the leadership of Rene Golin de Laudonniere. Shout out to Lauderdale. You sound like Lauderdale, don't hang on for Lauderdale, Laudonniere. Okay. On the 22nd of June, 1564, following King Charles VI enlisted Jean Ribault. That's the ninth. We might messing that up. And his Huguenot settlers to stake a claim in French Florida ahead of Spain. The French colony came into conflict with the Spanish, who established St. Augustine, which is obviously we talk about. The first Thanksgiving is tied to that right there, by the way, on 8th September, 1565. The Fort Caroline was sacked by Spanish troops under Pedro Mendez de Alvarez. This is also tied to Fort Negro. This is all connected to, you know. All this is connected. That's why it's so intrinsic, you hear me? Like what they got going on. Because it's more than what they've been telling us. But either way, that's the French model. You heard me? So you can slide. I think we got, what, the Dutch? Who else we got left before we get into the clip?
Let's see.
The Dutch, real quick, the corporate colonization, trade-driven expansion, land as commercial assets. That's Netherlands, by the way. They're the ones that came in and took certain places from the Portuguese, the Dutch. They overlapped them, just like how the French were having issues with the Spanish. The Dutch were the ones clashing with the Portuguese. You hear me? And taking nation shit. You hear me? Like Netherlands.
Can I point out one thing on this? Many of your Dutch are actually the same guys driven out of Iberia. They went to certain places in France that they took over. And I just want to tell you how wealthy these guys were that they kicked out. That they brought so much capital and money into the banking system of like Antwerp and all that, that like their interest rates dropped to like 0% overnight, because like there's a whole new supply of money. So I just want you to realize how if you're ever reading that history about 1490s and they kick out all the, the so-called Jews and the Inquisition, all this stuff, right? These guys were super powerful. They were not poor little refugees. Huguenot means refugee. See, that's part of the propaganda. When in fact, these guys were like, they were like an economy of themselves. And that's why I just want to point that out. And so when you're seeing Dutch and seeing French, the reality is almost all these guys are the same guys. They're just now leaving from different nations.
Yep.
I would just point that out. Most likely. They're like the same guys. It's like IBM gets split among five nations, and they go invade one, and they go set up shop in China. So IBM from Europe shows up in China, IBM from the United States, IBM from Canada. You see what I mean? Like I used to work at IBM. They have offices all around the world. You see what I'm getting at? Like you see how like it's still going on today. Like this is an old model. It's an old organizational model.
No need to change it if it keeps working.
Yeah, you go, man.
So yeah, Netherlands, Dutch, you know what I mean? All that stuff is tied to and like I said, there's a lot of stuff so far. Just point some things out. What's the next one in the model? Who else we got? The British, right?
Great Britain.
That's what we know. We know everybody, North America, 13 colonies, 13%, they say. When it comes down to the bottleneck theory of the black people in America, when the British using certain terms like Negro, you know what I'm saying? And settlement, expansion, replacement, private land ownership. You heard that? That's where the private land ownership part is where, Travis, you said earlier how people coming over and they're trying to marry an Indian woman and get a piece of some land and claim it for them. You know what I'm saying? They're doing all sorts of. This is where indigenous displacement is coming into, where we're seeing certain things where they got a different model about themselves, the British. You see what I'm saying? They're not just converting Indians.
They're trying to set up to stay. Whereas the other ones were trying to set up just to do business. Right. They just needed a little fort somewhere to do business, but they wasn't worried about trying to settle their people here. Great Britain was.
Yeah. Oh boy, that's a great point.
The 13 colonies, these people that were coming over here, they weren't trying to go back. They were like, nope, we coming here. Like this is Protestants are saying, since you said that, Travis, they're saying this is New Jerusalem. At their point,
right? So they're selling their people, and this is the New Jerusalem. You've been persecuted because you've been driven out by the Catholics. So they got this whole framework and ideology for this gigantic amount of people to believe in, and then they send them over to invade you guys. That's really what's going on, right? And then it's this weird thing where they're like, what? But these guys kind of act like the Hebrews, and we're supposed to like the Hebrews. So then there's a whole enigmatic sort of problem they've always had with you, because the way they propagandize those people, they on the one hand they admired you because you got to remember, John Calvin created a Christianity that's based on the Old Testament. It's a Jewish Christianity. Why? Because a bunch of Muslims and Jews got kicked out of Iberia in the 1490s. So now you understand why John Calvin's churches did not have a cross in them. They did not have a cross.
They did not.
And they were the original icon class. In other words, idolatry. Doesn't that sound like, Old Testament, like smashing the idols?
Yeah.
Get it? You starting to get what the Huguenots really are? And then they're meeting your people. So here you have so I just want to say this. This is in theory, but it looks to me like you have the usurper Israelites invading the original Hebrews. I'm just going to go with that. That's what you and that they knew who the hell you were because they met you over there thousands of years ago, and they finally got positioned, starting with Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great, is it Alexander or is it Alexandra? X is your thing. X marks the spot. X is the cross.
X is
so it's Allah X. It's Allah X. It's Allah Extra. It's Look at all those Persian emperor names. They're Xerxes, spelled with an X. It's not fucking English. English, we don't use X. We don't use that sound. So we heard that sound and we had to come with a fucking letter to represent it. And and X is a cross. Are we catching on yet? Are we catching on? How many American English words have an X in it? It's always a foreign word. How? Taxes. Oh yeah, because we all hate taxes, so they crucify taxes. But think about it, man. Like that's not English. That's just an English enunciation of somebody else's words. We got to start distinguishing between the two. What is an original English word? In other words, some English bloke in 1300 was sitting around drinking a beer or a Guinness, and he used a word, versus the English guy came over to America or went over to Africa, or whatever, and he heard a word and he brought it back and he Anglified it. Right? That's what we've all accepted that thing. You Americanize the word, but that's losing. Yeah, we're all getting confused and we're forgetting it's not an English word, though. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, come on. He's exactly right. So the Canaanites, you guys are how many Canaans are in America, guys? There's Canaans all around this country. And start calling it Canaan, it's Canaan, it's Canaan. It has to be. It's like Khan. Sounds like Khan to me. Canaan, King Kong, Khan King. This stuff is blowing my mind that it's all
these words.
Yeah.
It just shows you how much violent suppression went on. Somebody mentioned World War I. Yes, obviously what happened, something 1800 Civil War, 500,000 die here. You got the Crimean War at the same time. The Russians are killing millions of people. Supposedly, what color are they? I don't know. Maybe they look like you guys, right? And then you have World War I, right? Who are they conquering? They're conquering the so-called Turks, the so-called Ottomans. Who are they? The Indians, right? The Hindus. Right? That's what they tell us.
East Indians, right?
Yeah. And then you go into World War II, and you start going. So who were the United States bombing way over in East Germany? There's American fighter pilots who wrote books about what the fuck was going on in World War II that they don't fucking want us to talk about anymore. 1950s beatnik writers were World War II veterans who were from the working class white America who got that GI Bill, got smart with themselves and realized, what in the hell? And that became the counterculture that they fucking destroyed by 1970. I'm just letting you know. You can go look it up yourself, guys. But I'm going to tell you, you got guys who are dropping firebombs in East Germany who are writing books afterwards going, this is crazy. This is insane. And you got to ask yourself, including Vietnam and Cambodia, if it's so insane, why they keep doing it. Always ask yourself, who's benefiting? Let's just start being smart, right? Who is benefiting from it, and who are they killing, and who are they? It's yeah. So yeah, of course, everybody converted after they killed, right?
Yeah.
You acquiesced. It's a big difference between acquiescing and volunteering or choosing. It's their game, man. You get some guy that after they've killed 5 of your leaders, the 6th one signs the piece of paper. Come on.
I mean, we're gonna get to that in a minute.
That's not just a YT thing. I mean, anybody can think of that one. Right? I'm gonna keep killing until one of you, right? Yep. And you guys are connected. See, this is the whole class of civilizations. The Europeans are coming over here. They don't have clans anymore. They've already fucked up Europe beginning in the 1066, the Norman invasion of England. They started doing that. They're breaking your people up all the way back down. I'm telling you, that's who they're at. I guarantee you.
You're going to have to come back for that conversation.
Yeah. Right. You got to have the people so beat down in their mind to accept all this stuff. But they didn't accept it. The conventional history literally tells us all the fucking wars they fought. So now we got to ask ourselves, who the hell were they killing? At some point, we all got to ask ourselves, well, who were they killing? Were they killing other white Protestants who were already on board with it? Were they really killing a bunch of was the Protestant Catholic thing really Protestant Catholic? Or was it these new white guys, whitey thing, and they're killing the remnants of your guys that are still there, the Lusitanians that are still there, that they're now calling the Basque. And those Basques, we just can't understand their language. But let me tell you something. John Calvin, the first fucking Bible he had was written in Euskara, in Basque. So you tell me what the hell's going on with all that. It's like, this is
very interesting.
Where I'm like, I feel like they've been after you guys all the way, even via Korea. What's going on?
Empires does not mean.
Why's Nixon bombing Cambodia? Who are Cambodians? What do they even look like? I don't know.
Worldwide cleanup.
Drinking my 6-pack. What do I know?
6-pack. Hey, is that all the models, Monte?
I think so. Let me see.
I think it should be all the models.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
All right, so I have a question for you, Travis, off some of the things you got out there, and people be obviously your channel on TikTok and YouTube, right? You know what I mean? American Decoded. You've been doing your thing with the Ancestry Decoded now. The Yankee Doodle came to town riding on a pony. You know what I'm saying? Stuck a feather in his hat and called him macaroni. But the word Yankee, you were saying something about. I want to play a clip. Monte.
Okay, yeah.
I want to play the clip.
Hold on. Which one is? Oh, one about the Yankee. All right, yeah.
I think it's the 4th one down.
Yep, I got you.
Such resistance to.
Or is it right here?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, remove us. All right, here we go.
Exploring indigenous ancestry among people labeled Black or African Americans today, even when historical records show mass absorption, fraying villages, and renaming and reclassification all the way up through and after the Civil War. Why does the word Yankee, now a corporate sports logo and national brand, carry so much cultural weight if it was just nothing more than an Indian mispronunciation of the word English?
Do you want me to answer that question?
Yeah, I mean, I want to ask, what you thought about that?
I mean,
I got some stuff on it, but I want to hear your thoughts about it. This is interesting.
I mean, it just goes along. I mean, this stuff, so here's what's really interesting about the Yankee investigation is that the word was being used the way I'm talking about it all the way through. This is what gets interesting to me, the Civil War. And I want to ask you guys now, think about this. Why did the Southern guys talk about the invaders as those damn Yankees? but you never hear the North calling anybody in the South Yankee. So keep that in mind, right? What I find really interesting, though, in this is you actually see the process that they use, because in the 1880s, remember, that's 20 years after the Civil War, right? They've done Reconstruction. They've been like Ku Klux Klan, right? All this stuff is going on your ancestors, right? And they create a new organization called the Modern Language Association. I'll say that again, because if you've gone to college and you had the right reason, the MLA handbook, Modern Language Association. They create this association in the 1880s, and one of their first orders of business is this word Yankee. So right away, guys, where there's smoke, there's fire. This is an indicator, right? It must be an important word, or the Modern Language Association, newly created, isn't even gonna bother with it, right? But they're the ones who then create that definition that you will find in Google and in AI, that it is thought, it is supposed. I mean, nobody really knows the meaning of the word except for it was an Indian mispronunciation of English. And that definition and that idea was created by the Modern Language Association 20 years after the end of the Civil War. I'll leave you to draw your own conclusions about it.
All right, so I was doing some digging when I seen that, right? And the Yankee part is very interesting, like you said, because it's not a English origin from what I researched, right? But it's in the colonial framework, it's tied to the Dutch. Now, did the Dutch take it from indigenous people they were amongst? That's another whole nother.
I love that, because I love that. I've seen that too, right? But here's the thing. You can actually find literature where the indigenous themselves are using the word in the 1600s. So you have to show me how the indigenous would say, hey, I love this word the Dutch use for foreigners, and I'm going to use it in my poetry now. And I'm going to call other Indians who are traitors to the cause. Why would I'm going to put myself in your ancestors' shoes. Why would I sit there and use an invader's word? I guess you might, because it's foreigner, but what people got to understand is a foreigner can be an ally or an enemy. And I've already looked up the indigenous word for foreigner, that's a friend or an ally. The Yankee was the word for foreigner that was an enemy.
Yeah, like you don't.
And it was the word they used it on other Indians who were taking the side
of the British
enemy.
Right.
Doesn't matter French. They just in general they try and tell just just right. What else?
Later, the Americans. That's
right.
What they say.
And again,
you know,
at best you have the Dutch going over there and hearing the word and starting to use it at best. But again, you have to show me the Dutch having a word called Yankee prior to 1492. And if you can't, you're out.
You're out.
That's pretty good about Persian, but ask yourself where a lot of that Persian language came from. Zarathustra, the never-ending fire. Oh, you mean like the Mississippi and Natchez Indians Council fire that never goes out? Who exactly are the Persians, and why do they have fires that never get to go out, just like the American Indian tribes? Who came up with that first? Yeah. We can keep going. Xerxes, Darius, they all got cornrows, and Jerry. I mean, who are we talking about here?
I mean,
who are we kidding at this point?
When you said it, I saw it. That's why I'm like, because I went through something down here in South Florida, right? And I had to educate some of my Caribbean people, especially Jamaicans.
Okay, understood.
And Jamaicans, homeboys of mine, they would say, "Oh, Yankee Doodle," you know what I mean, or Yankee. Period. So the Yankee Doodle maybe say that. But Yankee was American. They just call Black Americans Yankees, right? So I had to correct them, but like from my at the time research and understanding of Yankee, in the South, because I'm my people from out the South, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yankee was tied to the North, mainly, New England and that territory, and what they were doing when they later on got to the Union time frame. And now those who sided with the Union, which was from the northern standpoint, were considered the Yankees. See what I'm saying?
Right.
But if you were in the South, just from the urban standpoint of how today people think of Yankee, black people, like you said, in the South, we're never saying we're Yankees. No, in the South, white or black, or the Indians are not really like, yo, we Yankees. But that's why when you did the clip, I would just want to start it off with that, because Yankee, I've had to, put that out there to some of my folks out there tapped in with us.
But all this demonstrates is the impact of relabeling and renaming. The Modern Language Association came up with that fake definition in the 1880s, and that gets passed into all the books. For those of you who think it's Persian and you think it's Mongolian, go read some Native American or Indigenous American Indian poetry from the 17 and 1800s. I'll give you one to go look up, the Narragansett War Song. Right? So unless you're going to show me that that's a bunch of Persians, a bunch of Mongolians, all right, fighting as the Mohegans and the Mohicans, you're going to have to show me a lot of data to prove that to me. Okay? It's an American Indian, definitely Algonquin used word in New England, bar none, no doubt, in their own poetry, and shows through. And the guy who wrote Last of the Mohicans and wrote a ton of books was using that word because the Indians use the word. So you got to use logic, guys. You're going to tell me that your people are sitting around using a fucking Dutch Huguenot word all the time? That's what they're doing?
Know what, though? You just said something.
Your word. It's your word.
Interesting, because the Dutch were there in the New England territory, New York.
They're not even...
And then the Algonquin, that was Algonquin territory, that New Netherlands, the Dutch, and then later New York became. So that makes, I'm asking questions.
Guys, the Dutch don't show up there till the 1600s. So again, if they're not using that word till after the 1600s, that means they heard it in America and then made it their own. Show me the Dutch using that word in the 1430s. It has to be before 1492, just so you understand they're all on the same team. I've already read Virginia's shareholder notes. You got the Spanish, the cat. No. They're all on the same team. They're all in league. They're all 34 members of the NFL. At the end of the day, they're going to honor each other's contracts, honor the land titles. Let me explain something. How did California become a state? They acquired it from the Spanish. And do you know what happened with all the land titles of the Spanish? That they got honored by the new United States. And I can show you that over and over and over and over again.
That part.
So just stop. At some point, it's like you need to do a little more research and realize it's one group, okay, divided up into 37 looking Hydra heads or whatever coming at it. That's all it is. It's that simple. It's really that simple.
All right, bet. So I'm glad we got that's the first one. That's my first one now. The next clip.
Dodger, the Doge, Dodge Ram trucks. Why do you have a brand called Doge, right? Doge, Venice, the Doge, Dodge. Oh, I want to see Dodger. Now, whoever's going on, I've been wondering about that. Why does America have that phrase, Roger Dodger? That you ain't gonna hear that in Europe.
These are things
Listen,
that
if the white guys in Europe didn't bring it, like, you see what I'm saying? Like, that's a real simple
They had to be influenced.
Simple test to use for everybody. If the word's not showing up prior to 1492 back in Europe, then you get, where did they go? Then they heard it somewhere else.
Words, right? Where these words
go?
Right.
Because they definitely were documented. So if it existed, we would be able to find it.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of mixture in words being fork tongue, being new words being coined. It's a Creole mixture. You see what I'm saying? So these words, like you said, are not coming from over there. These are not in their diction. Just like how Musco is words like this is all people taking on new forms and new words that are actually not the origin story of a people, like in some cases. So what's the next clip, Monte, man? I
just want to say that's and a good English word for that is obfuscation. Obfuscation. You muddy up the waters.
Okay.
Yeah.
It means
obfuscate.
That's not sound I'm sure kind of murky
it's
water.
Probably Indian.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. I'm gonna run the next one. See what we got.
Welcome to Handsome History. This is my next episode of my series, The Indigenous Money Machine. This focuses on the ancient Okefenokee Swamp. Hidden between Georgia and Florida, cloaked in mist and memory, lies one of the most ancient places on Earth, the Okefenokee Swamp. A place of floating islands, mounds, temples, moon calendars, and flame flowers. A place older than Rome, older than Egypt. A living cosmology. It should be counted as the seventh wonder of the world, not for its size, but for what it remembers. But the world forgot it, and power tried to erase it. This is the Indigenous Money Machine. According to Swanee River's strange green land, early travelers reported something the state still won't talk about. In the middle of the Okefenokee, far from roads, there were mounds built in the center of lakes, earth lifted by hand, not for survival, but the Sun King. These were not queens. These were ritual astronomers, water managers, and seed stewards. They carried the early settler state wanted the swamp, not for knowledge, but for title, for citrus groves, canals, and sugar lines. In 1891, Captain Henry Jackson and the Swanee Canal Company made their move. They formed a drainage board, passed the laws like Florida's Chapter 298, declared the Okefenokee improvable. But they weren't just draining water, they were cutting down sacred lines, mounds, springs, burial groves, the architecture of a cosmology and economy. Yet the swamp fought back. Their dredges broke, their maps warped, and the canal filled itself in. What the settlers didn't know, or couldn't know, was that the Okefenokee wasn't isolated. It was part of a vast indigenous water grid that ran from the St. Mary's River down through the Swanee, across the Withlacoochee, through the Green Swamp, into Lake Okeechobee, and finally into the Everglades. This wasn't just a floodplain. This was coded infrastructure, managing fish runs, citrus bloom, rice paddies, and ceremony. And all of it was tied to stars, the soil, and the voices of the daughters of the sun. Who funded this swamp war? Protestant universities, northeastern banks, and land-grant colleges built on stolen land. Cornell trained the engineers, Yale trained the lawyers. The University of Florida ran soil experiments to justify drainage, all under the theology of improvement, all to kill the water. They saw groves, but couldn't see the grid. They saw flowers, but couldn't see the ritual. They saw swamp and tried to turn it into real estate. But the swamp was more than wetland. It was a living memory palace. The Frank lineage still lives in secret groves, in the hearts of descendants who never named it on title papers, in the breathing past that crushed the dredges, in the orange trees growing in places no one planted recently. In the Okefenokee, it still breathes, as the northern gate of a memory grid they tried to erase, but couldn't. The groves are falling now, the canals are collapsing, but the tree they couldn't control, it still blooms. So follow the fruit, trace the water, because the covenant was never broken, just hidden. Handsome History, out.
Yeah, tap in.
Tap in.
Oh man, that book, I'm telling you.
So what is that book, man? Can you give people some background on it?
So yeah, I mean, guys, listen, I'm not here to hide sources, right? And this one is it's Swanee River, Strange Green Land. Now she goes into Okefenokee, but it's called Swanee River Strange Green Land. So in case you're wondering, but written in the 1930s, she's part of the New Deal, the Works Progress Administration. And basically, even in the book, it makes the point that there was a woman in charge. And she writes in the introduction that she had to present a letter from like Franklin Delano Roosevelt, man, like the president, to this woman, some powerful matriarch. And in the book, the writer calls this woman the plant woman. I mean, you can't make this up, guys. You're talking about your root, right? You're talking about, right? So it's like, this is who she's dealing with, and then that grants her access into the swamp. And then her husband, who tells her his name is Freeman, and she describes him as swarthy and dark and tall, with thick, black, bushy hair, a man automatically respected and admired by all the others in the swamp, right? So there you go. And then the book is the tale, like basically he takes her through. We have there's like 20 chapters, and there's a marriage, there's dancing, there's root knowledge, there's distillery in the middle of the swamp. There's all these other tales, and I'm just this book again, Swanee River, Strange Greenland, especially many of you in this audience from the Southeast. I mean, it's I bet you'd love it. You'd be like, oh yeah, I've heard that. I heard that kind of a story like that before, or my great grandmom, because that's really what it's about. She's like observing them just live their life for like a year in the 1930s. Yeah, 1930s. Yeah.
I found that interesting because of the fact that before the indigenous people, different traditions such as ones that were dealing with the moon, and obviously the different things they were doing with the earthworks.
South Carolina is the Crescent State, though, right?
Crescent, right? You know what I mean? That's why I see it got the map.
See, they try and tell us that's Islam. They try and tell us that, yeah. That's what they try and tell us, though.
No, yeah, they try. No, that's not what that is. No, sir.
Not what that is.
They dealing with, like you said, how you showed the system, a matriarchal, the 13, the moon cycles, etc., right. And how they were doing certain things with the system of the river systems too, and how all the streams are connected, often coming off the Mississippi going into the Atlantic. And funny enough, that was very interesting to me. That's why I thought that people might want to go check that out.
Before you go on, though, I just want to tell you guys. I call that the American. I call it the American Mound Water Road Architecture, and I believe it's all covered up. But I'm telling you guys, we can still see it today. It's more obvious in certain parts of the country than others, but it's real. And I think a lot of what we think of as, oh, isn't that wonderful how 5 rivers end up connecting into this one river? We're not crediting your ancestors, and I mean this might go back 8,000 years with, they connected them. There's some in between engineering going on, right? Like to keep the river going or to connect. You know what I mean? Like there has to be, because guys, look around the world. No other part of the world has the way water works to just make this land abundant.
He said that's why they put dams to stop the river flow.
Yeah,
absolutely. The war on water, I call that. Absolutely. Yeah.
At that time, that was like a way for people. Our system of moving in Trinity at this time is tied to these river systems. Yeah. I mean, so and outlets and trade and everything during this colonial time, and definitely they seen that they couldn't really stop the flow of indigenous people's trade system without
water. Yeah. Well, I just want to stop because that's awesome too. So here's the thing, guys. Like you might say to yourself, "Man, why would these colonists like ruin all this? It sounds like it was a good deal." The problem is you guys knew how to run it, so they got to come up with something that they know how to run. You get it? They got it. That's not always ever going to work for them if they're trying to control this whole thing. So that's why they start damming things up, flooding other things, they're messing with your infrastructure, with your way of doing things, right? You see what I'm saying? So you can't be powerful anymore. Same with prohibition, right? They're breaking up your liquor used as currency and credit. You did not need the local bank. You didn't need their fucking money. You didn't pay them any interest, and that pissed them off.
Yep. Money.
It's down the nuts and bolts, guys, at some point. Brass tacks, man, or it gets real boring quick.
For sure.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about.
With saying that, what this is about, funny enough, that when you were talking about Georgia in the area, Florida, Carolina, which is all Florida before it became known as, parts of it became known as Carolina. And then later, as we know, it became a part of Carolina, became known as Georgia. So how all this is tied in colonial time frame, I pulled up this North Carolina maps, they got on the different maps of the time frames to show y'all a little bit of different things. Look at the waterways and how they describe it. Obviously, too, the place we called Georgia before it was known as Georgia, Altamaha, right? Which is tied to it's a Mayan. It's a Mayan word. They're the ones controlling that waterway, by the way, called the Altamaha River. So that goes, which is the third largest, by the way, just to let y'all know, you know, it's the third largest contributor of the fresh water to the Atlantic Ocean on North America's eastern shore. You heard me? So when you think of flow of water and who's controlling what, Altamaha, all right, it's Samaya.
Mac, I gotta stop you there because it's so amazing what you're saying. I mean, guys, really, how many of you even heard of this river, right? We all know the Swanee River, right? You might know the Apalachicola. Who the hell's heard of this river? Did you hear what he just said? The third largest contributor. And it has that name, right? Alatamaha, right? Alabama, right? It's all mixed in. Appalachia. It's all right there in front of us, right? It's obviously one overall culture, right? Managing this whole area, this whole region, right? It has to be. That just looking at the wording. What you said, that's amazing. And I'm telling you guys, he's right. This is in the old book. It's even in the old book. Why were the Europeans fascinated? Why did DeSoto? Okay, so DeSoto comes over to the Americas. You got all of the Americas to explore. Wide open. You can choose any places you want to go. And one of the places he went was a swamp, a backwater swamp in Georgia. That's all.
I see that mountain range right there on this map, though, real quick. My bad, Travis. You see that area right there?
This map is the craftsmanship is amazing on this map.
Amazing. So
you see how how that water system coming out of that whole range?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. It was going through the mountains. You're saying, yeah, that has to be engineered, right? There has to be some engineering.
Look at it, like whoever's mapping this is from the outside mapping this. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's different maps here. I just wanted to show this.
But it's the concept. It's the real thing, though. He's giving us the concept.
Yeah, I'm definitely trying to show how this is going to be like. You know what I mean? So there's another one. A couple good ones on here. You know what I mean? Go down. Look
Much respect for Georgia. Much respect for Georgia.
Yeah, look at that shit.
Hey, when I was a kid, my favorite football team was the Georgia Bulldogs. I loved Herschel Walker and Vince Dooley. FY. That's my connection to Georgia.
See that mountain range with the water range? See how the other one had the same map? See the mountain range right there? And it says Mung Goak. And the other one had the same one right there. See how this one look a little different, but they're getting better with it, right? But this one right here is still, the other one's like larger with the water and everything, like more cartoonish. This one's a little more detailed and penciled in. But you still see that same name, which is that mountain range with that water going all the way out to that split right there. See it coming all the way out there going out to the east? Boom, right to the right.
Yeah.
You see how right? Yeah. So this, and that's all, you see how Florida, right? That's Florida. 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 That's
so
all Florida.
Genia, so what's Genia, you think, right now, like in the modern day? Yeah. Like is that like Brunswick, Georgia or something? Or is that Jacksonville we're looking at?
Would be right there off the coast. And funny enough, that's tied to the Altamaha situation too, as far as one of the main contributors is basically north of this right here would be Brunswick. Brunswick. Real talk.
What one other river too that's connected, guys, is the St. Mary's River that runs out of that swamp and basically does a up and down S like a snake, east west, all the way to the Atlantic perfectly. The St. Mary's River. So that swamp is fascinating. You got like 5 rivers, I think, flowing in, and then you have the St. Mary's flowing to the Atlantic, and the St. John's, the Swanee getting you down into the Gulf of Mexico, and I think the St. John's is even a part of it. It's just dead center of Florida. So is that an architecture or just random nature?
Look at, all right, there's another one real quick, just a couple more.
Oh, these are amazing, man.
Yeah, they scoping these out. I had to find this Carolina. You know what I'm saying? Look at this one.
Look at all the.
Now this is over time, the same landmass overlapping each other. Them. You know
it's just
what I mean?
so. I'm just saying, guys. If you look at a map of Africa or Europe, at least, are we going to see this number of perfectly flowing east-west into the sea rivers and streams? do we see that all around? I haven't personally ever investigated this, but I'm putting it out there. Is this unique or not?
Hell yeah,
this is unique. Yeah, definitely unique.
I mean, at some point, we all got to start really looking into it. Like, this stuff was noodled together, I believe. It was engineered. A lot more of this, I believe, is engineered. If people have been building mounds for 11,000 years here, then they sure as hell knew how to do some canal digging and they could find the soft spots.
Making dams to mold the waterway.
Hey,
same thing the Europeans did.
The soil is a little softer here. Let's go ahead and dig right here and connect. Right? Like, we're not idiots. Like, we're not going to do it in the rocks. Yeah, I mean, I don't know,
you got to read this though. You got to read this, y'all. You got to read this right here. You see that, Monte? I want you to go back over and scroll over where it says King Charles on his map. Because we said his name earlier, Carolina.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we see the name. Okay.
So the English claim the property of Carolina from, I think it's latitude, right?
Yep.
Cataracts, okay.
Yep.
And then 29 and degrees as part of the, what's that word right there?
Cabot's discoveries.
My eyes, see, who set out from the British in 1498?
Nah, from Bristol. Let me read it. Who set out from Bristol in 1498 at the charge of King Henry, I think the 7th, but they did not take possession of that country till King Charles II's time in 1663, who granted a patent to diverse persons to plant all the territories within the north, and then it gives a latitude and longitude all the way out to the South Sea.
All right, so
they just. All right, where you say we going?
Go back to the map. Go back to the map. See that area where is greened out, the red line? See
right here,
Carolina?
Yeah.
Look right underneath it where it says it's green and red right there underneath it. Where it says limit.
Oh, right here, King
Charles.
Yeah.
Granted to present proprietor of Carolina in 1663. Look at the area, because all this area was Florida before.
Right.
All this area was Floridase. See, this is, people might not understand how this, you know what I mean? How Spain and you got indigenous terms. Last week Sunday, where indigenous names were there. And now you're starting to see like indigenous names are still on here as well. But they're still, funny enough, a lot of them are on here. But they're claiming colonially these areas. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm very well read on this, because this is the Lord Proprietors that got rewarded after the English Civil War, after the restoration to the throne of King Charles II. His father had been beheaded. That's the Cromwell and the Protestants, right? In this nasty war, a lot of your people are driven out. You're the Black Irish getting sent to the Caribbean. That's that war. They reward these special people who are mostly mariners, they're admirals, they're captains of the sea, and they protected the young king, and they forcibly restored him to the throne. And then he rewards 8 Lord Proprietors with New Jersey, Florida, North Carolina. So Virginia's already there, so it's New Jersey, and then it skips down to the Carolinas, and of course Florida was all the way to the Mississippi. I mean, if you look at some maps, it goes all the way to the Pacific coast. Point is, it was a whole bunch, but that's what he's talking about is real. And you have 8 Lord Proprietors that are basically getting to own all that for quite a while. It's a whole story. I've done some deep dives on really fascinating stuff, but that's the corporate capitalist part of the whole situation.
And they've been going in on the chat. Look at this. He said, people will say, I didn't know there were Indians in North Carolina and live in a town called Chocowinity.
Yeah. It's like
That's
growing up in like Chickahominy or something, being like, those guys are Africans, right?
Yeah.
You can't listen.
That's funny. Hey, you got jokes in the chat for real with that one.
Nah, facts.
All these towns we live in, people don't know these names.
Yeah, guys, it's really bad.
Towns,
right?
roads, the rivers. Yeah. Just pay attention when you drive.
The Southeast is just like
you see it all the time.
Crazy Southeast. You the Southeast, you'll be blind if you running around talking about where that name come from. What do you mean where that name come from, bro? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Well, so I just connected recently, listening to you guys and others talk about the Choctaws, the Chata, and I was like, oh, so that's the Chattahoochee. You know, like all of a
Oh
sudden, like
yeah.
catching on, like, oh, wait a second, now I know it,
You gonna
how
get
you're
us into
really
something.
supposed to say it. Yeah, you see how they do it, man. Like someone said in the chat, guys, language, they call it spelling, like spells, and it seems to have worked on a whole bunch of us. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah.
Most definitely.
Because
You
it's
got
something
very
about
effective.
like it's something about once you break this, then you start this, then you see the pattern, and then it just you unzip everything. You know, the cat's out of the bag, or whatever, however you want to say that. So it's interesting.
Damn right.
I listen to people and I'm like, wait a second, now I can understand. Now I'm realizing, wait, so that means this other all these words are, you know, yeah.
Shoot. Go ahead,
Yes,
play that.
William Penn, he's correct
Got like
about that.
4 or 2 left for you, Travis. We ain't gonna hold you much longer, so we had to hold you a little over because of all the stuff we wanted to get in this decoded conversation. But we got a couple more questions.
All right, I got you.
All right, and we gonna let you slide. We only got a couple more for you.
No, this is great. Yeah,
traded
so
futures.
yeah, man. So so I did a deep dive. Like this magazine, it's called Remembrance Magazine, the inaugural issue. It's 100 pages, 10 different articles, but all of them focus on George Washington and sort of pulling out the system behind him. So I use them as like a case study to really understand a lot of what we're talking about, right? And in this part about futures, I mean, it's really fascinating. Now, I knew about surveying. I realized that a few years ago, and I was like, okay, they're starting to put the land into the system. What I didn't realize is that based on that, they would begin to trade the paper, like basically, the future. Like I'm betting on the future. Like in the next 10 years, we will take control of this land. So I'm willing to pay X amount for that piece of paper. And then if the 10 years went by and they still hadn't colonized, they still hadn't displaced your people, right? That guy still has this. It's still a tradable asset. So they financialized, right? They created a financial instrument so that they're all trading and making money on all this stuff for decades off your land before there's even a battle. There's even 1812 or the Treaty of Greenville is simply going to reward the people that at that moment in time of the treaty hold the paper. You see what I'm saying? They've been trading that paper for 2 generations back in Europe. George Washington was surveying stuff in the 1750s, and then he's the commander-in-chief signing that treaty in 1795 when he's a shareholder in the Ohio Company, and he's part of the Fairfax Trust who owns all the shit. I mean, come on. He finished his job. That was his mission, and he accomplished it in 1795. And that's why he retired into the sunset easily. In case you're wondering why he didn't stick around much longer. He did his job. So that's what these are. So when you guys are doing some research and you might think surveying's boring or whatever, and it is, but back in those days, it was the job of the most elite, highly trained, and they were okay. So to compare it to today, it would be like today them going into some land and then sending the results back to a major real estate investment trust or a REIT. Some of you might buy REITs on the stock, right? REIT. These are major things. They REITs. Just so you know, our banking system, I shouldn't say that, right? I should say the United States banking system, right? 75% of its assets, guys, are land, real estate. They're not making a bunch of loans to innovative businesses in this country. They're just making loans for everybody to move land around.
Yep.
So how different is what's going on right now than what I just described George Washington and his compatriots doing?
Not at all.
You see what I'm getting at, guys? So a lot of this is to look into the past so you can understand the present. I'll leave it at that. So Yeah, I mean, there you go, futures.
Well, shoot, we got one more clip I think left for you, man. It's the last one I think on the obviously the discussion for the night. Some of it, obviously, want to probably bring you back for more of it. You know what I mean? But it's the last one I think fit more of the whole discussion we've been having. So let's play this last one real quick.
All right, here we go.
$1 trillion GDP each year. Who was directly involved in due diligence on American Indian land that today produces $1 trillion annually? Let's go back to the 1700s, a time when land worked in a specific way to enter the law system of Europe. Land was measured, described, and claimed on paper. Decades before it was in a colonial town or U.S. territory, and surveying, it was the domain of elite special operators. Their mission? Convert the land. You survey indigenous terrain, you reduce it to geometry, and now it enters the European legal and financial system. How did this land conversion system work? Where else was this system used? And how does that system shape life today? To get the full forensic assessment, read the inaugural issue of Remembrance magazine, which features a forensic reconstruction of George Washington, the system behind the man. Available to purchase at American Ancestry Decoded.
Good money.
Yeah. So I mean that, right? I mean, and somebody's putting in the chat, right? The headright system, right? So I want to point that out. That combined with the surveying, if you were an investor in getting shares in the Virginia company, the money you invested was used to purchase people in Europe and send them over to be settled and planted in plantations in Virginia. So before they had you supposedly had your ancestors enslaved on plantations, they were literally this is their own language, planting settlers in these colonies. That's their own words, just so you know. Fascinating, right? The whole, I mean, the whole thing is like bizarre. Like, so there's no loyalty, right? They all come over and want to join Team Indian. So they have to create laws like capital punishment for going, right from the beginning. And there's our man Washington, right? It's just, he just shows you this. I'm starting to wonder if he's even one man, or is he just a filler for what was going on? Like maybe it was like a company. It was a company doing all this stuff. I mean, there's obviously a man as president or whatever, but I'm just trying to say, like, it's amazing. I mean, he's out there surveying in Virginia with Indian help. He's described as dressing in Indian accoutrement. So they do. I'm sure your ancestors were not letting my ancestors just start putting on war paint and acting silly. Like, I just don't believe that, right? He's described as coppery. He's described as swarthy. He knows to go to Queen Aquippa and say, hey, I fucked up. I didn't get your permission before I went to survey in your land. Which then begs the question, that was she already converted? See, this is where I talk about conversion, right? Like, because it's like, it sounds like she's on the game plan, even though she's still being her Indian self. She's on the economy. She's on the economy enda, right?
Yeah.
She's in it, right? Yeah, you get what I'm saying? She's been lured into it without really knowing. She's now a part of the economy enda, right? The economy, right? So these are all the things, guys, when I was doing this research on Washington, it comes up and it makes you ask these questions, right? Like, why is he presenting gifts to an Indian matriarch? Why is he dressing it? Why is he able to do all these things? He goes out to Pennsylvania and Ohio in the 1750s and 60s. And so when you fast forward to Tecumseh, right, and you're going, oh, it's so horrible what happened in 1812. Understand that the germination of that was in the 1750s with the founder of the United States. Just letting you know.
Hey, so, it's funny.
Yeah.
That you brought this up, especially when it comes to surveying, right? Because to explain the importance of people. So basically, even to this day, so it's funny that a lot of people, we don't understand the system and how things really work. And a surveyor, even to this day, is a very important. So I'm getting into in my real estate business to do new construction, right? So when you buy some land and when you want to build a house, the number one person you want to call first is a surveyor, because he is the one that's going to tell you, hey, what can be built here? And now it's much easier because people have done the work for a very long time. They got this down to a science.
It's easy
right?
now, right?
Yeah, but the person back then who was brave enough to go into the unknown and say, hey, we need to know what's on this land. Somebody got to go do it.
I would compare him to like a modern Army Ranger, a special forces operator. You're talking about a guy
SEAL.
able to speak different languages. He could be out there. There's anecdotes of him getting shot at and like he had a chance to like have an Indian killed, and he's like, no, so he plays all these parts. Now that could all be, you know, aggrandized and all that. But my point is this guy was talented and he was highly, highly trained. And therefore that begs the question, who trained him, right? Who assigned him, who appointed him, who is behind this man we call Washington as he does all these things. And that's where, to me, it's really fascinating. I mean, it's just very interesting to just ponder these questions. What the hell is really going on? Like, this is some really, and then to cap it all off, he's the guy signing the Treaty of Greenville, which sees the Ohio lands, which leads to the Tecumseh being killed 20 years later. 1795 is when Ohio enters into the United States territories under Washington's signature. You can't make this up. He was out there surveying, and 35 years before, or somebody representing him was.
Yep.
So perhaps we could look at it as the Washington LLC, to be more realistic about it, but whatever. Yeah. I mean, fascinating.
Well, shoot. I mean, I think that's all I got for you tonight, Travis. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I really wanted this. Those things were fascinating to me. Like, it intrigued me enough to go look up some stuff about it and be like, what's Travis up to right now? I ain't talked to him in a minute, man. Just get him on the show and let him pull up. Tell him, what's this about, Yankee? Especially the Yankee part. Like, I had to go look at it. Like, wait a minute. Yankee used to be that's what a Jamaican say. Yeah, Yankee boy. I'm like, I told y'all about calling me Yankees out there. Now, we all supposed to be cool, but I don't like being called a Yankee. Remember? But anyway.
Yeah, and you're absolutely correct, especially since you're Southeastern, right? You're like, of all the people, you're not a Yankee, right? Absolutely. And I just want to point out to people that not only they change the definition, they change the spelling. So this is a classic case, right, of using using language spelling to muck everything up, to obfuscate the truth, right? And literally it used to be spelled Yangee, all right, Yan, gay. And so there's a whole thing that they or Yanqi, right? This thing, now it's Yankee, and they tell us it's some, even some of the stuff will tell you it's like European Jewish word. So we got the Netherlands, we got European Jews, and we got you guys don't know how to say the word English. That's the three conventional accepted explanations for the word Yankee. And then the really rich guys in New York name the most famous fucking sports franchise in the world after one of those three things. Oh, sure.
Okay.
I'm the one that's crazy, right?
Okay.
Right? Think about it. Yeah, I mean, come on. We're going to name our team after an Indian mispronunciation of English. We're going to name our team after an Ashkenazi Jew word that they brought over here. Okay.
Hey, man.
Stranger. Keep going, guys. What else do you want to tell me about the word Yankee if you think I'm wrong? And you guys are happening. Tell me. Right.
Strange.
Anyhow, fascinating stuff, man.
So for real, it was a good conversation with you, Travis.
Great conversation.
Hope everybody enjoyed it.
You guys inspired me.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Oh yeah. You heard me with these names.
Yeah, I mean, I see you guys are up to getting more organized. I'm like, damn, this is what it's about.
Yep.
We getting organized.
Getting organized.
Yeah, we ain't playing around, Travis. Yeah.
Doing this thing the autonomous way. Shout out to Travis, though, that captain with us today, y'all.
So let them know your TikTok is American Ancestry Decoded now, right?
Yeah, American Ancestry Decoded. I just, on my website at AmericanAncestryDecoded.com, I just published that magazine. I call it Remembrance Magazine. And every issue will focus on a topic or a person so we can work through and see in just anecdotes, right? So this is not an academic magazine as much as I might sometimes sound academic. So I made a point out of this is like, let's get interesting about this, right? And break it down. So that's what I'm doing with that. And as you guys can tell, there's plenty of content, right? I mean, there's just so much to just keep showing it, just being this, you can't deny this. The system is there, the patterns are there. Like it starts to become silly to deny it,
One Sunday at a time. One Sunday at a time.
One Sunday at a time. We're gonna break it
Yeah,
down.
okay, there you go. So that's from your culture. I'll keep that in mind for myself.
Yeah.
One Sunday at a time. I got it.
For sure.
Sounds
One
good
day
to
at a
me.
time. It's one day at a time,
Yeah.
but it's the first day of the week. You know what I'm talking about? So we got to shine on the first day of the week. That's the name.
And then you got, well, I was thinking I just want to make it to the next day of rest.
That part. That whole part.
That's right.
Yeah, but
anyways, yeah, I really feel I love being here. It's great. I really
appreciate you pulling up anytime, man. Anytime you got something you want to introduce new, you can pull up on us. We gonna cross.
I'm gonna pass some of my wackier ideas by you before I go public. How's that?
There you go. There you go.
I ain't gonna be mad at you. You know what I'm talking about? I ain't mad at you. Now for real though. Hey, till next week Sunday, y'all. We appreciate everybody that tapped in.
Yeah, thanks guys.
GMC, Gullah Mass Choir. Shout out to everybody in the chat, all my indigenous folk, Gullah, Creole, Maroon. You already know what it is. All the good time, Maroonville. Till next week Sunday, y'all. Peace.
Peace to the party.
Yes, Lord. We left this truth in harmony. Make bigger world with the money that we get. Yet our little ones cry with so much life to live. Life to live. Life to live. We stand in the storm, still trusting in love. But when the table's set, who's feeding us? Who's feeding us? Who's feeding us? Who's feeding us? Millions were taken that belong to the children. Food meant for their hands never reached the building. A system built the doorway and opened it wide. Gave others all the comfort while we stood outside. The officers in power, yeah, voting out late. When not one gentle blessing reached the neighborhoods we made. They keep saying equity, calling it trust. Yet the blessings keep on flowing everywhere but us. Making the world with the money that we get. Get our little ones cry. So much life to live. Ooh, life to live. Life to live. We show up faithful, standing strong and just. So in the table set, who's feeding us? Who's feeding us? We carry the burden of taxes and patience. Still we watch our schools fade in desperation. Silence for the fraud when it happens far away. But scared hands eyes on us whenever we stray. Our voices keep lifting each election here. Yet the love and protection never seem to come near. Promises repeated, settling it does. While resources in favor never fall. With our hearts, got that star. No more hugs. Who's feeding us? Who's feeding us? Am I feeling
Thank you.